throws it to the right. Gilmore's there. Intercepted at the 4. Harmon forced the pick, and Gilmore comes up with it.
The Patriots Pregame Show is the world's largest virtual tailgate, featuring fans of the 6-time Super Bowl champion New England Patriots.
Brady under center, gives to Michelle, runs it left, a dive to the end zone. Touchdown Patriots. Michelle for 6.
That's the offense I know. That's the offense we love.
Hardy, Paul Perillo, and Mike Dussault are here to do the grilling as your hosts. This week, the Patriots are on the road against the Los Angeles Chargers.
James White cuts it under the right arm, cuts it upfield, driving forward, diving to the goal line.
It's still
a touchdown and a title for the Patriots.
I can't believe it.
Hardy, Paul Perillo, and Mike Dussault are here to get you ready for the game.
It's football time, fellas. Let's get into it.
Now, live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, Patriots Nation, welcome to the Patriots Pregame Show presented by Dunkin.
I am worried about Mike Dussault, and that's how we begin the Patriots pregame show, fueled by.
I'm worried about the Patriots.
Okay,
they're going to be without a coach today.
Don't worry, we have the power of the hoodie.
We're gonna get to the Patriots in a second. Are you okay?
I'm great.
Okay, are you going to do that the whole show?
No. I figured for the start, I'd have to put the hoodie up to have the the full thing going here
The full thing.
for a little costume.
It's a whole thing.
Why don't you fill us in on this coaching situation for the Patriots, Paul?
Well, I'm not sure Belichick is there. He's with us. So just so you know,
Yeah.
be on your best behavior because the coach is with us today.
Yeah. That's right, Bill.
The actual hoodie that you're wearing.
I don't think Bill plays enough young guys.
Yeah.
Is that in the database?
Do especially the team.
Is that in the database?
Oh yeah. Well, this is of course the original. The Reebok original one here. I got the. I did not cut the sleeves off myself. I can't. I'm not at liberty to say where I got this though. It's private.
Did you buy it with the sleeves cut
I
off?
did. I got it off eBay. Bill didn't give it to me. I don't think I'd buy like an $80 sweatshirt and then cut the sleeves off of it for the look. But no, I got it off eBay a while ago. I figured had that. I'm the hoodie guy. I got to have the authentic one, right?
They're starting to sell short sleeve hoodies.
I know. Well, he started it, didn't he start it, Paul? Right?
One
of the many things.
Now that one I can legitimately say he started.
Okay.
Taking perfectly good sweatshirts and cutting the sleeves off of them.
That you'll give him
I'm going to
credit
guess
for.
that he was the first and only one to do that.
Well, welcome into the Patriots pregame show. It's fueled by
Unlike
Dunkin.
deciding to put air in a football, he wasn't the first to do that.
Wow. What are we doing?
I
We're
don't
doing
know.
the
I don't know.
Patriots
That was awfully
pregame show.
uncalled for.
It's unnecessary. They're riding high. They're coming off a huge win.
Huge.
And they are now going to take on another team coming off the bye in the San Diego Superchargers of Los Angeles. That is how we will refer to that team today. At least I will.
Okay. All right.
Because we're going to call it.
I will say,
Superchargers.
this is an enormous game for the Patriots.
Yeah.
It really. I mean, we've talked about at various times over the last couple of weeks. You had the Bucs game was big, but not necessarily for the scope of the league. It was big because of Brady's return here to go against Belichick. We talked about the Houston game and to a lesser extent the Jets game last week being must-wins. Like if you're going to have any hope for the future this season, you had to win those games. This is the first game that I can say you're playing against a team that you need. This is a huge swing game. If you win it, you're right in the mix. You're able to sit there and say we have a chance to be a part of the postseason race. If you lose it, you're really back to where you were last year and just swimming upstream for the last half of the season. So this is a big-time swing game.
Sneaky big game today.
Huge.
I don't even know how sneaky it is.
Huge.
I agree with everything Paul just said, and I think that's what's exciting here on Halloween. It's not like, Dallas, Tampa, those teams at that time, it felt like, maybe it's a little bit above your weight class at that moment.
Yeah,
where San Diego, it's
can
not.
we compete?
Or LA.
But if you lose, you're kind of supposed to lose.
But this is a team on the up. Maybe they're a year ahead of the Patriots where they got their quarterback last year. Maybe they're a little bit ahead of where the Patriots should be. But, hey, Patriots went out, got plenty of guys, and now it's a question of putting it together and starting to show some progress. But I think the way Paul said it is perfect. It's 4-4, 3-5. It's not at least that way. It's not the end of the world, but at the same time, it's a significant.
It's one of those
game
like
today.
if you go 11-5 or 10-6, they're both good records either way. Good. There's just like a huge difference between 3-5 and 4-4.
Yep.
And I do think it feels like more than just a game swing. And you guys know I'm not a huge analytics-driven guy with the percentages of this, that, and the other thing. But when you have I think that some of those sites list the Patriots somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 or so % chance right now to make the playoffs. 38,
yeah, maybe almost 40. Yeah,
38% chance.
Yeah, around
okay,
there.
so let's call it 40. 40% chance. I saw something that if they win, it goes up like 20%, and if they lose, it goes down like under 25%. So, like I said, at 3 and 5, you're just swimming upstream the rest of the way.
Yeah, and at some point you got to start beating good teams. I mean, the Chargers are a good team. I don't know if they're a great team, if they're a contending team, but I think they're a team that's right on par with where we want the Patriots to be, which is, knocking on the door of the playoffs, trying to make some noise when you get there. You got a young offense, a young quarterback, trying to, get him experience and get him ready to compete with the big dogs. So I'm excited, and I think obviously we should just bring up. I mean, Austin Ekeler, I think, is something to talk about off the top of just a important piece of their offense we talked about all week, and didn't practice Thursday, Friday, hip issue, something happened Wednesday, I guess, but I think that changes the attack significantly, and I think
it looks like he's going to play, but yeah, I
we'll
think if he's not a huge part of this game, if he doesn't have a big impact in this game, enormous advantage for the Patriots. Enormous.
Well, that's all fine and good, but we haven't even done the keys yet.
No, sorry.
You two clowns. So
Well,
you're
we're
talking about like
excited. But
specific players.
I'm sorry, but you know
What the
why?
hell?
You know why we're doing that?
Why?
Because this is a big game.
we're excited.
It's a big game.
We haven't had one in 2 years.
It's a big game.
It
was
is.
a big shot.
Big show.
Okay, so and this is the most exciting part of the show for us three, because we get reminded as to what our keys to the game were that we had to give to Matt a couple of days ago. We all forget about it, and now we find out again when they put it up on the screen. So let's do it, Matt.
Why did you leave the keys up on the table? You wanted to.
You've waited all week for it.
The whole team's in the locker room right now just listening to this, waiting to hear what you're going to say.
Without these keys, the Patriots are destined and doomed to fail.
Here are Hardy, Paul, and Mike's keys to the game.
Why did I steal your key to the game also?
You have the key. You have the right one.
Save that for later. I don't. Do we need to use this paper again for anything? Is there anything written on here that I need to read? You have me use it as a donut plate.
No, just put it on the table like Fred does. It doesn't. It's clean. I'm sure. It's
That's
fine.
right. All right. Keys to the game. The Patriots are listening to this in their locker room there in Los Angeles, and without these keys, they will not win the game. So it's important that we get them out in a concise, timely manner. We begin with Mike Dussault.
Yeah.
Your key to the game for the Patriots today is...
And I think like the hoodie might even add a little more credibility to my key, perhaps. But my key is delivering clutch moments, and I think that's just as I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be back and forth. I think both teams are going to put up points in the 20s, maybe even into the 30s. And I think that for a team like the Chargers, like to go for it on fourth down, I think they're not one of those teams that's intimidated to make risky decisions. And I think there's going to be quite a few moments, 4, 5, 6 moments in this game, third down, fourth downs that are going to be big turning points in the game. And I think that's what we've had with the Patriots defense, especially this year, and some big moments. They can't quite get the stop they needed. Even in the offense, going for it on fourth down. I think there's going to be a handful of critical moments in this game that are going to decide the game. I want to see the Patriots step up and have their playmakers make big plays in the big moments. And if they do that, I think that's how they win the game.
Very Michigan State-like approach.
No, thank you.
For you.
For sure.
mean, I think that's what they did yesterday, Paul. They came through in the clutch moments. Huge. I don't know if anybody cares anything about college football.
I cared about it yesterday. I was with you. Guy.
It was the one game I've watched this year. That's my Super Bowl.
It's the first time I've seen them this year. I don't think they've been on like conventional networks.
They may have.
Maybe Big Ten Network. But,
I can only pay attention to so much. Yeah. And it generally, there's a couple of teams that rank above my alma mater, then my kids, and then a couple other things, and then I get to college football when I have time. All right, so clutch moments. I think it's a great key.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Mike is right, because they had some opportunities, right, with games on the line, and not just against the Bucs and the Cowboys, which are the only games that people talk about, but like against the Saints and the Dolphins, they had some clutch moments that they failed in as well. So I think that's a good key. I'm going to look at the passing game, and the Patriots secondary is a little troublesome for me against an offense that I don't think it's the most high-powered in the league by any stretch, but it's pretty good. I think they have some pretty good weapons, but I don't think they have the depth of weapons that some of the other teams, certainly not that Dallas had, in Tampa Bay had. I think it's Keenan Allen, it's Mike Williams, it's Jared Cook, and Ekeler as the running back. So what I would like to see, if the Patriots can sort of force Herbert to get away from specifically Keenan Allen, like they did last year. Make them use some of the other guys. You know, I'm looking at the list for the Chargers on the season, Hardy, and beyond the two big ones, Allen and Williams, you go down to Guyton with 9 catches. You know, Donald Parham with 7 catches. So beyond their stars, they really don't use very many other guys. So I think if the Patriots want to get out there and have their defense do, I'm not telling you, they're going to pitch a shutout like they did last year, but contain Herbert the way they did last year. I think you want to make him play left-handed. Don't allow him to just get his comfort early on with Keenan Allen, and that I think is a big key. Use the other guys.
Yeah. So, not that this is necessarily has to be part of your key, but how would you recommend they go about doing that?
Well, I think they'll double Keenan Allen, and I don't know. I would have J.C. Jackson with some help over the top on Keenan Allen.
And isn't that the problem? You need to use your best corner and give him help.
Well, I think that but I think in this particular case it makes sense not because I don't trust J.C. Jackson to cover Keenan Allen. I just think that the Chargers offense has a completely different look if Allen doesn't catch 8 balls.
Yep.
And I think if you can make someone else catch 4 or 5, then that's a big positive in the Patriots defense, because now you're going to have, I think you might have to have Juwan Williams involved with Mike Williams down the field just because of the sheer size. You could have J.C. Jackson cover Mike Williams, and you could double Keenan Allen with Jalen Mills and help as well.
That old thing.
Those are 2 different ways you can go about it. I would rather have my best corner on Keenan Allen because I think Williams is more of a niche kind of big play threat.
Red zone down the field.
As opposed to what I think they do with Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I think, and I like where our 2 keys kind of intersect, because I think on 3rd down, got to take away Keenan Allen. He's the favorite guy to go to, especially in the big spots. So I agree. I think if you had to boil it down to one moment for both of us, that's it. Just don't let him go to Keenan Allen. And even if you are double teaming him right off the top, he knows pre-snap he can't go to him. I think that'll, kind of mess with his process a little bit. I think there'll be a lot of that going on today.
All right. Well, for my key to the game, I'm very excited to see what I told Matt a couple of days ago. If they don't put it up on the screen for me, I won't know what it is. So, are they going to make me sweat it out here? Oh,
it's on your paper. Lift up your donut.
Oh, right there it is. Stick with the tricks. The trick plays have been working to such an extent for the Patriots. I feel like it's not even fair to keep calling them trick plays. It's just part of your offense. A lot of discussion about that during the week. What are you laughing at?
Because we were laughing at it about like Josh McDaniel says, they're not trick plays. We work on those a lot. We practice those over and over again. And I was like, Josh, we don't think they take you by surprise. They're not tricks for you. The other team doesn't always expect you to throw it twice in the backfield and then throw it downfield.
Well, but when you do that multiple times a game, in every game, it ceases to be a trick. It's just part of your offense. Now,
there's another non-trick play. Running back, looking to throw it back to the quarterback, had to throw it.
And then did he just do one of these?
Is that Rexy? I think it's Burkhead in the Houston LA game. He was going to throw it back to the quarterback, and then he had it kind of sniffed out, and he just tried to get to the sideline and said, take this.
Rex Burkhead just threw an Uncle Rico style.
Throw a football over those mountains.
Yeah. That was Patrick Mahomes. Everyone would be like, whoa.
But yeah, I agree with you, Hardy. I mean, I think that's part of the identity of what their offense is now.
Right.
There's going to be a couple of wrinkles.
But don't you think there are some teams that work on trick plays? It's like, look, if things are really not working for us in this really expansive, finely honed, well-tooled offense, we can go to this, and they practice it a couple of times and go with it. The Patriots don't have that benefit. They do not have the expansive, well-tooled, finely honed offense yet, so they got to work in these plays and maybe rep them at a rate that's higher than what other teams do because they know they're going to use them. This isn't like, oh, gee whiz, if something bad happens. No, I wouldn't be surprised if we see one in the first 12 scripted plays on their first drive of the game. This is kind of what they do now.
Yeah, especially on the road, Is that another reason to – although, more it sounds like it. I know Andrew Callahan was flying out, had a bunch of Patriot fans on his flight. It does sound like there'll be a lot of Patriot fans out there. But, if they're working, I just wonder where do you go next, because I think that it's hard to build off of so many wide receiver passes. There's no – now teams are going to start to be kind of ready for it. there's not a lot to like build off of it and counterpunch. Maybe there is. Josh knows more than I do, but at a certain point, I think you got to hit the pause button a little bit on them and kind of refill the tank a little bit.
Well, all good keys. I dare not choose one above the other, so instead we'll just go behind enemy lines and we'll ask Fernando what he thinks.
You know the view from New England.
We go behind enemy lines.
But what about the view from the other side?
Well, I'm doing great, even though I miss being there with you guys.
And that's why you're our favorite pregame show guest every year.
You guys know you tell everybody that.
Time now to go behind enemy lines.
My God, it's coming right for us!
Let's go behind enemy lines now and talk with Fernando Ramirez from Sports Illustrated. He covers the San Diego Superchargers of Los Angeles for SI. I got to reach all the way over here to get Ryan up here. But Fernando. Why did I say Ryan?
I don't know.
I'm losing my mind, Fernando.
Yes,
Thanks so much for joining us today. How are you?
Good, but you're trying to get me in trouble with that for the first part of that intro on the team, so you're out here trying to get me in trouble. I know it's Halloween, but come on, man. I'm trying to have an easy day today.
How are we getting you in trouble?
What was San Diego Superchargers of Los
San
Angeles?
Diego.
No, it's a joke. People still freak out when you call them. I mean, some fans are still a little sour about them moving and everything. So it's a fine line. But no, I appreciate you guys having me on and everything. And I apologize if you hear a lot of noise. I'm at the stadium and there's people in the background and stuff.
I've seen the stadium from obviously photos and stuff, but this is the first time we have some of our people there since the stadium opened. What an unbelievable property that is. I mean, it's mind-boggling how cool it is.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. I've been to this one, the Cowboys, and the Raiders one, and all three are just fantastic stadiums. This one just stands out because of the area, how big it is, the different multi-uses that they use for it and everything. I mean, it's going to be, when there's concerts and stuff here, like, it's going to be pretty awesome. I think WrestleMania is here next year in 2022, so yeah, the Super Bowl's here this year. It's going to be a crazy next couple of months for SoFi, or a couple of years for SoFi Stadium, just because of everything that's coming. But it's an awesome venue, awesome stadium to say the least.
Hey, Fernando, got to ask you right off the top about Austin Ekeler. Obviously didn't practice Thursday, Friday. Any insight into what happened to him, and what his availability might be, and just what's the impact on the Chargers offense if he can't go?
Yeah, no, so, God, I can't remember his name. Brandon Staley. I apologize to Brandon if he's listening. Brandon Staley said during the week that on Wednesday, obviously Austin was going through some workouts, going through practice, that he was looking good, and then that he came up a little sore after. And Brandon's one of these coaches that really, if a guy has a little bit of a knock to back, you know what, sit out the rest of the week. We know what you can do. Rest up, and then you can go on Sunday. So according to so on Ekeler's Instagram, he put his starting lineup. He screenshotted his starting lineup for fantasy. He had himself in his starting lineup. So I think that's an indication that he will go. He will go today. The offense just wouldn't be the same without him. I wrote earlier in the week, we talked to Austin and to Brandon Staley, and they both said that they're urging the second unit of running backs, Joshua Kelly, Justin Jackson, Larry Roundtree. They're like, come on, guys, we need something from other guys. It can't just be Austin Ekeler. And Joe Lombardi said, Austin's a huge part of our offense, but yes, we do need other guys to step up. And that's what the Chargers have been trying to do. They've been trying to get Joshua Kelly going. They've been trying to get some of these guys going because it can't just be Austin that's the threat running the football.
So, Fernando, I wanted to ask a little bit about some of the other guys on the offense. It's one of the things we talked about at the beginning of our show today. We know all about Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. If, in general terms, Bill Belichick generally makes you sort of find the other guys, who are the other guys that might be able to step up, and is Justin Herbert comfortable if he can't sort of feed Keenan Allen and Williams his favorite targets?
Well, I mean, anytime you have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, you're comfortable no matter who the quarterback is. But the thing is, obviously, like you said, Bill tried to take away your guys and makes other guys step up. Well, the thing about this season is Jalen Guyton really hasn't stepped up as that third option. The Chargers kind of the same problem that they have with the second running back is the problem that they have with the third receiver. Nobody has stepped up. Josh Palmer's a rookie, still trying to get the offense down. He makes a grab here and there in every game, but he hasn't had that big breakout game yet. Jalen Guyton last year was a down-the-field threat for the Chargers, he would make all kinds of grabs and 70-yard touchdowns, 50-yard touchdowns. But this year, it just hasn't. He hasn't been able to be that down the field threat like he was last year for the team. So that's been a little bit of a concern for this offense. But the Raiders tried to do that a couple of weeks ago. They took away Keenan, they took away Mike, and Jared Cook, Austin Ekeler, Donald Parham, Steven Anderson. Those guys stepped up and they were able to make plays, and they were able to ultimately win the game. But the Chargers know against the Patriots, you can't just rely on those guys. You need other guys to step up. So they're going to be asking everybody that's not named Keenan Allen and Mike Williams to obviously step up, just in case if they're not able to, if obviously they take away both Mike and Keenan.
Fernando, you talked about earlier in this week how this game was a big litmus test for both the Chargers and the Patriots, and we were talking about it, before we brought you on, how this is a big game for the Pats because, with a few wins under their belt, we're still waiting for that, win against a good team, and that would be the case today if they can win, especially, against a good team on the road. How is it a litmus test for the Chargers?
Well, I mean, obviously last year, 45-0, that was a pretty bad game. That was probably Justin Herbert's worst game as a pro quarterback, and this really could be. I mean, and the players aren't really saying that this is a revenge game, except for Chris Harris Jr. who came out this week and said, "I remember this game. I'm letting these guys remember this game. Like, hey, remember that ugly taste that we had in our mouths? We can't forget about it." But it's a big test because the Chargers are going to face some really good head coaches the rest of the way, and obviously if you get into the playoffs, if you can scheme up a way to kind of be Bill Belichick, it'll help you out a lot more, especially with some of the head coaches that you might have to face in the playoffs or later on in the season. You have to face Mike Tomlin. You have to face a lot of really top head coaches who they're disciplined. I mean, Brandon Staley said this week the thing that Bill Belichick does not get enough credit for is he gets a lot of credit for being a defensive coach, but he doesn't get Bill Belichick, the offensive mind, the special teams mind. He doesn't get enough credit, and he thinks that that's what truly makes him great. So obviously the Chargers have a rookie coaching staff who obviously this would be a big win for them and a big motivator. But another reason is because the Raiders are 5-2 and they're in their bye week. The Raiders the last 2 weeks have scored over 30 points. They've looked good since they went to Rich Bisaccia as the head coach, and now it's kind of our interim coach. And you want to keep up with the Raiders. You don't want to get one game behind them because then obviously you have to be struggling back and forth and going up and coming down. So this is a big game for them all around, just because they need this win to keep on stacking them up, and especially with some of the opponents that they have coming up, you're going to need victories right now. And you never know if Kansas City really does turn it on. You don't want to play catch-up with Kansas City either. So these guys, they need to win these kinds of games for obviously playoff implications as well.
Fernando, just curious, coming off of that loss to the Ravens, I know they've been on their bye week this week, but what did the Ravens do exactly to slow down the Chargers offense, and what do you think they need to get right against the Patriots?
Well, I think what really happened was that Justin Herbert wasn't able to move around the field. And I don't know if that was the Ravens or that was the Chargers. Like, part of you kind of thinks maybe it was a hiccup game because of, especially what Cincinnati just did to Baltimore. You're kind of like, was it a hiccup game where the coach was the team just not prepared? Were they thinking about the bye week? But obviously the Chargers, the players and the coach aren't going to make any excuses. But you do kind of have to question if it was a hiccup game or not. But definitely Justin wasn't allowed to move around a lot. Usually what Justin does is he's like Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes and some of these guys. The more he moves around, the more space he can create for his receivers, and they can get open, and he can launch those 30-yard passes or get guys. He can throw guys open. That wasn't able to happen. They weren't able to run the ball well. And then another thing is, too, with that Baltimore secondary does that the Chargers need to watch out for today is obviously they jump in the air. So when corners and safeties were blitzing Justin Herbert, they were jumping up in the air and batting passes down. New England, obviously their safeties, their corners, they're all famous for that. They all jump up, smack balls down. So it definitely is going to be a huge challenge for the Chargers. But the Ravens just did everything. And then obviously they got off to that 17-0 lead. So if you get up on a lead, it does make the Chargers sometimes one-dimensional. So definitely, if New England's able to do that today, then it makes the Chargers one-dimensional because they'll kind of stop running the football and they'll more rely on Justin Herbert. So I think that's kind of what the Baltimore Ravens did last week.
A lot has been made, Fernando, of the problem stopping the run. Has that been as big an issue as the stats would indicate?
It has been with teams with really good running backs. So the last 2 weeks, the Chargers have given up 400 yards of rushing yards to both Baltimore and the Browns, and they allowed 6 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. So it's a lot. It has been pretty bad. The only time that the Chargers were really able to stop the run was the Raiders, and that was because the Chargers got up on a quick lead, and they weren't able to run the football as consistently as they could with Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake and some of the guys that they have. So it is a concern. They get Justin Jones back today from IR. He's a run-stopping kind of defensive tackle, but today's going to be a big indicator. Is Justin Jones, is one guy enough to kind of help them slow down the rush, or is this a bigger problem? So I kind of think it's a bigger problem just because, and also they get Drew Tranquil. Presuming that Drew Tranquil plays today, it's another huge boost for them in the running game against the run. But definitely it is kind of a cause for concern. But the Chargers said that they've done a lot of homework. They did a lot of self-analyzing last week and during the bye and obviously this week. And they said that they will try and do a lot better this upcoming game. And, well, here's your chance. You got Damian Harris. You have the Patriots, obviously, who for years have been a great running team. So this is going to be really interesting on today to see how they try and stop the run.
All right, we always ask our guests behind enemy lines, Fernando, to give us a score prediction for the game. Do you have one?
Yeah, I had Chargers 30, New England 23. I just think that, obviously, Justin Herbert, this is a big game for him, especially with the kind of game that he had last time. So I think Justin will rise to the occasion and put on a show today at SoFi Stadium.
All right. Fernando, we appreciate it. You can follow Fernando on Twitter at RealFRamirez, reporter for SI for the LA Chargers. Fernando, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Hey, I appreciate you guys so much. Happy Halloween, and everybody stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fernando.
All right, there we go. Fernando Ramirez there. Good stuff. From the,
Superchargers of Los Angeles.
So like via Orange County.
Right.
Tapped on there too.
Thank you for that, Matt. I appreciate that. It's funny. Every time we have someone on for Behind the Enemy Lines and they lay out their score prediction, I'm like, yeah, that actually makes sense. Yeah, I can see that happening. Now, it's nothing like the one that I have for today, but I'm also not giving any thought or credibility or nothing to what happened last year. I just think of this as being such a different team for the Patriots. The Chargers, though, if they can hang on to some of that sting from last year, does that factor in a way that I'm not giving enough credit to?
Maybe. I would give much more credence to the 45-0 if the coaching staff didn't turn over. To me, it's almost like you have a whole different coach. I mean, it's a different team.
Yeah. I think we talked about it this week. I mean, big part of that win was special teams. You know, that was, I mean, how many special team scores do they have? And I think the Patriots special teams have been okay this year, but they haven't really been producing points like they did last year. And I think that was a big part of that game. But I agree. I just haven't seen a lot of turnover. Maybe there's something to be done with understanding some stuff to throw at Justin Herbert, maybe a little bit. I mean, I think Paul probably boils it down best with taking away Keenan Allen as being a key piece of it. But I don't see a ton of carryover. Maybe it'll be some motivation for them, but these seem like two, very different teams in very different spots right now than they were last year.
Well, Fernando also talked about the role that Gunnar Olszewski played in that game against them last year.
All over the place.
Is that something that they really need to game plan for, like this time around?
I don't think that we're not going to let Gunnar beat us this time.
You have to make sure, like Mike said, the Patriots got 14 points on special teams.
Right.
That's not necessarily game planning for an individual player, but you can't allow things like that to happen.
Right.
And their coverage has been a little spotty at times. They've had an enormous problem at the kicker spot, and they overturned. They made a change back. It was Dustin Hopkins, right?
Yeah, he came in.
What an unbelievable turn of events in Indianapolis. I love to do my red zones. So Ryan Tannehill was under heavy pressure, threw one up for grabs. It got picked off by the Colts. Linebacker was returning it, Tyquan Lewis, for Indianapolis. I believe he blew out his ACL on the return. Non-contact, was just running and crumbled to the turf and lost the ball, and the Titans recovered it. If it wasn't the next play, it was shortly thereafter, a 57-yard touchdown pass to A.J. Brown, and it's tied.
Wow.
Just like that.
Just like that. You go from having the ball up 14-7 with all the momentum to now you're in a tie game.
And you lost the guy.
And you lost the guy. Yeah.
Crazy. All right. Well, we'll continue to monitor what's going on around the NFL.
Well, I will. I know you guys don't really care.
Well, it's part of the show, quite frankly.
Well, it's so natural the way he does it too. He just goes right into.
I had a really good one earlier. Mike was he's going to lie now and make fun of me because he's going to play your side of the street. But there was a play in the Eagles-Lions game where Jalen Hurts was rolling, and finally stepped out of bounds and then threw it away. And they called it a sack. They said that he stepped out of bounds before he threw it. There was holding on the Lions in the end zone, of course, your Lions.
Of course.
But they originally called an ineligible man downfield on the Eagles, so it made the penalties offset. And Nick Sirianni's going crazy on the sideline. I'm like, how can you have an ineligible man downfield on a sack? It's a running play.
Right.
And then, Tony Correnti, who is like 12 years beyond any reasonable person would expect a guy to be an NFL referee, comes out with there was actually a running play and there's no ineligible man. And I looked at Mike and I said, you see, it's not that hard, Scott Hansen. You just watch and you can figure out we got a little fake field goal going on with Pittsburgh. Boswell looking to throw the ball, had to throw it away. Oh, big stop for the Browns.
Seamless.
Because if you watch the games and you watch the teams, you have a general idea of the personnel by number. I'm not telling you know every guy. I'm not Gil Santos. Like, I didn't have every roster committed to memory. Guys like Bob, that do that, Bob Sosi, much respect for the amount of knowledge they have of every player on every team.
It's Cam Newton.
But just look up and you see a number 9 rolling out to the side. Hey, that's their kicker.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard.
By the way, not to go back to the Michigan State game yesterday, but the Michigan fake punt, which I still say was a fake punt.
I don't. I think he bobbled the
So
snap.
you think he bobbled it, and he said, there's no way I can kick this thing now. I'll go pick up 9 yards on my own.
He panicked.
I think you're nuts.
Listen, I couldn't tell you for sure. But I from watching it looked like he bobbled the snap, panicked, and tried to run, and then got lit the beep up.
And I hate the fact that it's being portrayed now as a blown up play that they had to do, because sitting there watching it, I called it. I said, here's where that idiot Harbaugh will try and fake one on 4th and 9. Oh, they won't see this coming. And sure enough, I'm like, there he goes. There he goes. And he did not pick up the first down.
Continuing with that tough little run of luck in the Indianapolis game, Jonathan Taylor ripped off a 31-yard run, called back for holding.
Good grief.
Colts are imploding.
But
Can I go ahead?
Oh no, I was just going to say.
Can it finish?
I think Paul's all of our excitement in the red zone right now. It's right now. It seems like we're kind of at that point in the NFL season where things are starting to happen.
It's about time.
Teams are starting to identify who they are and make pushes. And
teamwork.
The Colts, tough start, but there's some life
Teamwork
there.
Makes the dream work.
Teamwork.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
No, I think you're right. It's like these games, while they were interesting in the beginning of the season, just because we have football back and we're just excited to see it, week 2, 3, it doesn't really matter, unless it's the Chiefs getting blown up by the Jets. Now, there's something happening pretty much with every one of these games in terms of playoff implications, or are they real? Are they pretenders?
Well,
so,
that's what we're starting to get into
happens.
a little bit.
That's
Yeah, absolutely. And you're watching Buffalo is in a slugfest with Miami,
Crazy.
and that could be something to keep an eye on down the road if the Patriots were able to win this game, and you somehow Buffalo gets upset and you slide within a game in the loss column. So those are the little things. And I'm just on Twitter too, keeping track of all of our colleagues out in LA, watching the pregame warm-ups and whatnot. A lot of people talking about Ramondre Stevenson looking like he's with the
due,
regular
right, Paul?
group.
He's due.
He's due. He's due for a breakout in his third career appearance.
Due for a game.
So, there's some other injury-related stuff that they were talking about. A bunch of different groups and people reading into Devin Asiasi not being with the typical pregame workouts that have been reserved for the guys that are inactive. So, People have speculated that maybe Devin Asiasi could be in uniform today, which would make some sense with Jonnu Smith banged up. Maybe they don't know exactly what they're going to get from him. Maybe he's going to be down.
Yep.
Who knows?
Yep. I mean, I heard Lacoste was out there too. So I mean, practice guy.
I was going to share that with you, but I don't want to get you too excited.
I know. It's okay. I'm tempering my expectations. But
before we get to the phones, can I ask both of you, or maybe just Paul, Mike, because maybe you'll be with me, to convince me that the 10-yard holding penalty is still a fair punishment in the NFL, because again, I'm watching yesterday, and you just said call back for a holding penalty. To me, yes, it should negate the play, but the 10 yards on top of it, it always just it's too much. It's
Hardy
too
has
much.
a problem with the rules.
I've always had a problem with 10 yards on holding, and not just because.
Well, what do you want it to?
But
be?
in part because there's holding that goes on all the time that doesn't get called. And the difference, I don't want to manhandle you, Paul, but just to myself, the difference between grabbing a guy here and grabbing a guy here. Oh, that's 10 yards. No. You go back, try it again, and now you're going to have to get 2 first downs because you had an offensive lineman grab here instead of here. It's stupid. It's too much.
But
it's always been too much.
I think the problem, and I would agree with you that, as you know, I think the officiating is horrific. I think the bigger problem is I don't think that they do a good job of calling the game. I think they call too many holding penalties that are actually pancake blocks, to be honest with you. If you get an offensive lineman that is in control of the block and then the defender goes down.
Yes.
They're going to call it 90% of the time.
Right. Yeah. All right, well, now we can get to the phone. You did not convince me. I still think
I don't understand really what you're saying about the 10 yards.
I don't know. I don't
know
how
else to explain it. Do you think that penalty should not be like
5 yards?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not.
You all right with PI, spot foul? Is that PI all right, Long?
No. I think PI spot fouls are ridiculous. I think it's 15 yards.
See, that's another one to me. If the PI is legit, I have no problem with being a spot foul. What I have a problem with is so many of them are garbage calls.
Mm-hmm.
Garbage.
How about just give him 15 yards and give him the first down? Now,
because I think that would become a tactic for defensive backs that are beat on long balls. Just rip them down. It's 15 yards.
All right.
Well, that would be my fear.
Yeah.
That would be my fear.
That is the counter.
But if you get 2 of them in a game, then you're ejected.
That's what we need. We need to make it more complicated. Then Tony Correnti will really know.
Was
what
that
he's
a
doing.
second one? Oh, actually, you're out.
That was a flagrant PI 1. No, that's a flagrant
grades.
2.
You can have grades of them. Right?
Yeah, right. Grades of pass interference.
Well, that's like in hockey. They got major, minor.
Of
course.
course.
Different degrees of
right.
penalties,
The game is already so freaking complicated.
That's a minor hold, 5 yards.
Couple more rules. So what?
Minor hold.
Dan in Virginia, what's up, buddy? Thanks for your first up here on the Patriots Pregame Show. It's fueled by Dunkin. Hello.
Hello. I've got 2 questions, neither of which have to do with today's game. The first off, I apologize if Hardy's already discussed this, but Hardy, how about that game yesterday?
We discussed it when I first walked in. I would be perfectly content with skipping the Patriots pregame and just doing an extended Michigan State postgame, but that's not what I'm getting paid to do here today. I'm not getting paid at all. Actually, see,
I was here
Morrell
for it too.
doesn't care.
I watched the whole second half. I didn't see much of the first half.
Why were you here?
Here?
You said I was here for it. Oh, you.
No, I said I'm here for the Michigan State postgame show.
Yeah, but thank you, Dan. I appreciate that.
No worries. And the second question I have, it's Halloween, obviously. What were your all favorite costumes that you had as a kid growing up
Great
for Halloween?
question. Great question.
It is a great question. I just was never like a. I had not necessarily anything memorable as a kid. I really don't. I can't. Like that's what I think. It's a great question. I'll give you one as an adult that I win as the Heisman Trophy, and people loved it.
You are so predictable.
Nice.
Did you just pose the whole time and have somebody push you around?
Well,
I
had an old pair of baseball pants that I pulled way up. At the bottom, so the socks were showing, and I painted everything gold, and I had a white turtleneck that I had gold, and I took a Nerf ball and painted that gold, and I carried the ball around the whole.
That's good.
I had one as a kid. I went as Deuce. You won't know this. I put a paper bag over my head and went in a sport coat. The Unknown Comic.
You're so predictable.
Oh,
thank you.
I didn't know that.
You did?
No, I didn't.
Okay, it's from the Gong Show.
That's cool. You don't know who the unknown comic
No,
is?
no.
Oh, okay.
No.
As an adult, I had to
That's a good one.
I had to host a Halloween party at the Hard Rock in Las Vegas. Huge, 2,000 people. We're giving away a $5,000 grand prize. This big night for the Hard Rock. So I came out dressed in just fishing gear and had like a fake beard on. And my wife, she accompanied me. I said, "Hi, everybody. I'm here to host the contest. Welcome." I said, "Oh, let me bring out our co-host for the evening. First of all, my name is Scott. Let me bring out my wife, Lacey Peterson." And Marcy had seaweed in her hair. She had done her face white and had a fake pregnant belly.
Oh,
So
that's
we went to Scott and Lacey
Whoa.
Peterson.
That's savage.
Wow,
That's
we opened
savage.
that show with a bang.
Even the crowd.
Did people like it? Or
No,
were they
there was
uncomfortable?
like
Gasps?
They were uncomfortable?
Poor days.
And Marcy played right along, too?
Oh, she loved it.
Oh, just
She
went
loved
up.
it.
Unbelievable amount of notches in my book. That's
Man,
awesome.
I got nothing that good.
I don't either.
No,
I have
One year,
nothing.
my buddy and I dressed out. He was the co-host, an actual co-host. One year, we had the short sleeve white shirts, ties. We had name tags, and we went around the casino on razor scooters. We went as Mormon missionaries. But that was not. That was not
Vegas,
crazy.
I mean, it's a high bar in Vegas to dress up and make an impression there.
Yeah, and everybody knew who we were. They're like, because there's a lot of them in
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
Yeah.
All right. Did you have anything on the game, Dan?
No, nothing at all. Sure. Let's. We've had a lot of talk as to who needs to step up, but who do you think's got the best chance? Who do you think actually is going to step up, whether in this game or for the rest of the season, to make a difference to the team's fortunes going forward?
Good question. Excellent question.
Who is going
to and who needs to for like a now you could say that fortunes maybe have started to be reversed based on the outcome of last week's game. That was a wonderful effort from all three phases. But if there's someone that needs to continue to really put forth an effort, I'm going to say it's Hunter Henry. I think Hunter Henry has to be like a much different player than what we've seen here in the first 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, I
more
like
impact,
that.
more
I'm
impact,
gonna
more
go
impactful
J.C.
than he has
Jackson.
been. Ooh,
I think there's a lot of pressure on J.C. Jackson to be the number one corner, and he needs to be that guy. Today's, the big example of that.
I maybe throw Jalen Mills into that mix too. And I mean, part of the question too is, who's going to have the chance to step up? I mean, we're talking about guys who are generally getting chances and just need to play better, but what younger guys or who's going to get a new chance? Like, is Stevenson, is Miles Bryant, is Uche going to get an extended look? Is Barmore going to, continue to grow? I think those are the guys for me that I'm most curious about, and it's hard to really project because I don't know who's going to get the chance. But I agree. I mean, I think Hunter Henry's been, great in the red zone and all that. I'd just love to see more production from him, in between the 20s and, to build on some of those, what does he have, 4 straight games with a touchdown. That's great. But, to continue to build and have the offense move through him more than just, finishing things off in the end zone.
If I could follow up on that, Paul said J.C. Jackson, and it seems like the more it sort of became clear that he was going to be the number one corner, the more it seemed like he got outspoken. Was talking about, he didn't do anything on me. He was seemed to be talking big about the other players, about the guys he was covering, that they weren't that good or that he did a good job on them. Is that just J.C. Jackson, or was he now that when it was clear that he was going to become the number one corner, did he feel he had to start have a little more swagger?
That's J.C. Jackson from the day he became a Patriot. Yeah, he likes to make fun of the other receivers and he did that again this week. He doesn't think this is a challenge at all this week.
I mean, I remember with Juju Smith-Schuster in the 2019 opener, and everyone was standing around
Killed him.
and just eye rolls.
Yeah, matter of fact, he laughed. I believe that
is he
was
a number
the game,
one
right?
corner? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, thanks for the call. We appreciate it, buddy.
I mean,
and that was before he was like, quote unquote, J.C. Jackson.
Yeah, and then the thing this week, and it's just him, but it's part of the reason why I struggle seeing them investing in him long term. I just don't think he is on the right wavelength they want for someone they're willing to pay a bunch of money to.
All right, let's go back to the phones here. Patty in Agawam. What's going on, Cousin Patty, on the Patriots Pregame Show? Pat, hello.
Hello.
Hey, Patty.
Hi, Pat. How you feeling?
Oh, I feel great.
Okay, your voice was gone.
Happy
last
Halloween,
week.
guys.
Okay, happy
Halloween.
And what you guys were just talking about, I absolutely love the unknown comic in Murray Langston.
Unknown Comic was an underrated bit. That Gong Show was an underrated show.
Yeah, it was. Chuck Barris was a lunatic.
Oh yeah, he was. I think he was legitimately out of his mind. At some point, I think he maybe did have a break with reality and thought he was part of the CIA.
Right?
Oh,
I know
really?
that. I remember that part of it.
What an unbelievable
Pretty
catch!
cool.
They did a whole movie about it.
Yeah,
Sam
the movie's
Rockwell.
awesome
By the
too.
Jets.
Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Yeah.
The book is really good too.
Yep.
All right.
All right, so I just got a quick question for you guys. And I'm talking about the defense. I'm going to switch things over and just, ask you guys, do you see them keeping, like, not Hunter Henry, not necessarily in, but, like, seeing him try to, like, chip Bosa and try and, or possibly, like, kind of combo block him? Because, I mean, you know that Bill, he has a ton of respect for Herbert, but, I mean, he also sang big praises of Bosa, and it's warranted. I mean, the guy's great. I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, I mean,
How do you contain him, basically?
I think it's a group job. I don't think it would always be Hunter Henry, but I think that he's always kind of on the offensive right side, so Mike Onwenu, I think, is going to be seeing him a lot tonight. So I think that makes it a little easier, but I don't think it's a one-man job. It's usually going to be, a bunch of those guys. Maybe Haran is the third tackle, maybe Jonnu if he's healthy, maybe they have even Asiasi, like Paul mentioned earlier, as the guy to do it. But yeah, I think you gotta figure out a way to deal with him because he can blow things up in a hurry.
All right, Pat. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. No, he's gone. All right. I don't know. I don't know if he had something
I don't know
else.
if you guys caught that catch by Keelan Cole. That was really an unbelievable one-hander. It's almost,
now we're doing this show.
It's almost Odell Beckham. Like,
Although I did just get distracted by a play from the Dolphins-Bills game. Did you see the snap that went into the legs of the receiver that was coming across?
I did not.
Oh my god! And I wonder a lot, like, how this doesn't happen more often when somebody's going
like in motion, direct snap to the guy in motion. Those are
no,
tough.
but it was Tua just waiting for the snap, and somebody was in motion and it hit him in the legs when he was running across.
What are we doing, guys?
I'm kind of surprised it doesn't happen more often, but it doesn't really happen. Paul, my apologies. That's worthy of an interruption.
Wow.
That was a great
That is a
catch.
Except for, I guess it's under review, so I don't know if he bobbles it at some point down there, but I thought it was a touchdown.
Of course it's going to be a touchdown. It's the NFL. He had his hand on the ball, and it was somewhere near the goal line. They'll call it a touchdown.
Wow.
Oh, and there's
great
another
catch by
great
the
catch.
Bengals.
Wow. All right.
That was an old play. Sorry, I just pulled a Scott Hansen.
That's okay.
So they overturned that Jets catch.
Well, that's
I think he
ridiculous.
bobbled it on the ground or something.
That's ridiculous. Tony in Canada. What's up, Tony?
Hi, guys. Happy Football Sunday.
Same to you.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you. So, yeah, I heard one of your callers ask about who really needs to step up, and I was going to actually ask you about that. I was thinking that the O-line is, as far as I can see, whether we're going to make it or break it this year. But I was wondering, like, that's how I see it in terms of our success or failure is the O-line. So I want to get your guys' feedback on that. How important do you think that is in regards to setting up the running game and the short pass game? I'll take my call off the air. Thanks for taking the call, guys.
All right, Tony.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a semblance of an offensive line. You can't be poor on the offensive line. You can be average, and I sort of argue with people and say you have to have a great offensive line. There's a lot of really good teams that are just average at best. But if you have a really bad one, the way the Patriots played in the first month, it can really impact your offense and all the things you're able to do, especially with a young quarterback. So, yeah, the fact that they've been better lately is, I think, a big part of the reason why the offense has been better lately.
Yep, absolutely.
Fair enough. All right, let's step aside here briefly. We will continue the Patriots pregame show, which is fueled by Dunkin, and we thank Bose. They are proud to be the official sound and official headphones of the New England Patriots and the NFL. Bose Quiet Comfort Earbuds. Rule the quiet. Learn more at Bose.com.
TouchView Interactive is here to support your hybrid learning, distance learning, and video conferencing needs with easy-to-use tools that allow end users to collaborate, interact, and present seamlessly. TouchView Interactive offers a comprehensive line of accessories and software to support your audio-visual needs. Outfit your classrooms and presentation spaces with the future of interactive display technology. Visit touchview.com for more info. Offered by the Oakers Company, celebrating 100 years of service and support.
Join the conversation by calling the Ace Ticket hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at webradio@patriots.com.
Did you do the jumble as well?
I do the jumble, yes.
You are an old soul.
Live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, here's Hardy.
All right, back on the Patriots post-game show, fueled by Dunkin. You guys want to engage in some over-under shenanigans?
Let's do it.
Let's do that.
It's time for this week's edition of Over-Unders.
You're over me? When were you under me?
Over-unders, Paul had another week. My God. Matt, what's last week in season totals?
Last week, Mike 3-3, Hardy 3-3, Paul 4-2. I should have did that in the other order. Sorry. Brings us on the season. Paul 26-14, Mike 20-22, Hardy 14-28.
Okay, slight correction.
Yes.
Paul is 26-16.
Yeah.
What did I say?
26-14.
26-14.
Typo. I'm sorry. I have it right on the sheet.
Math.
All right.
Math.
When I transfer from my Excel sheet to these.
But the good news is that was
wrong.
the only error this week. all the records were correct in both over-unders and in the six-pack.
The six-pack can't be right from last week.
It is.
I think there was.
It is. It was a tough week for all.
There was a mistake there. Yeah. Not for Deuce. All right, that's later though. All right, over-unders. Let us begin. Matt, what do you have for us?
Mac Jones completions 22.5.
Ooh, that's a good number, I think. I'm going to go over.
I am going to go over as well. I think the Patriots are going to need to throw the ball in this game. I know that everybody is pointing to the Chargers' poor run defense, but I think they're going to need to score some points in this game, and I think they might need to throw a lot of short, quick passes, get it going, keep that rhythm going. Yeah. It leads to a lot of completions.
Ekeler is active.
Ekeler is active. The role of Ekeler today would be played by Ekeler.
I too think it's a good number. So because of that, I'm going for the push, 22.5, and somehow I need a push on that. So can you mark me down for the push? No, I'm kidding, Matt. You can't do a push.
I don't know what that means.
He really doesn't.
That's why I wrote push.
Bless his heart. Oh, I'm refreshing my memory. See, last week, Mac Jones only threw the ball 24 times last week in a rout. I'm going to go under. I'm going under. So you guys are both over.
I have to change that.
What? You thought I was going?
I thought you said over.
No, I did not.
It sounds like a good number.
No, I'm going under.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Justin Herbert passing yards 288.5.
Paul, you're up first.
I am going to take. I'm going to take the over. I think Justin Herbert puts last year's game behind him, and he bounces back, coming off the bye. A really bad performance against the Ravens. I think he throws for a lot of yards today.
I think you're probably right on that, Paul. I'm going to agree with you and go over 288.5.
Ooh, so he's been over that 3 times and under that 3 times this year. I'm going to go under.
Jacoby Myers receptions 5.5.
Oh, boy. Ooh, that's a big one.
Sorry, kids. I can't tell you that Jacoby Myers is going to catch 6 passes today. I cannot do it.
Really?
No.
Come on.
I can't.
No,
I'm going under.
I'm going to go over. I think Jacoby Myers is going to get his first touchdown today. I got a feeling.
I'm going to go over as well. I think that he is the volume guy. He gets the catches, and I will take the over.
He had his first touchdown last week. They called it back.
They did.
Damian Harris rushing yards 71.5.
Back to you, Deuce.
Ooh, I like that. I'm gonna go over on that one. I think he'll have a good day.
Damian Harris 71.5. I will take the over on that as well. I just think that the Chargers, that's the way their defense is set up to sort of allow rushing yards. And I will take the over.
That is the square position, and for that reason, I'm going under. You guys are just expecting a lot of offense today, a lot of completions, a lot of receptions for Jacoby Myers, a lot of Damian Harris rushing yards. I'm just going to go the other way. I'm going to go under.
Longest pass reception by the Patriots 24.5.
Paulie Paul.
I will take the under on that. I think a lot of quick, short stuff. That's the way I think they're going to go after the Chargers today.
Oh no, they'll get along with it. They can blow past 24.5 easily.
Well, it'll be your trick play, I'm sure. That'll be where they get it.
Probably. Doesn't have to be 24.5 yards in the air.
Yeah,
no, that's true. It definitely won't be that.
A tough one, though. I'm going to go under.
And wrapping with the total score, 49.5.
Yeah. I'm going over just because I like to root for the over. It's more fun to root for the over. Just score. Just score.
Yeah, I'm going for the over, too. I think it's a high 20s, low 30s to not much less.
Okay.
Yeah, my score prediction gets the game slightly over, so I will make it unanimous.
There we go.
Over.
All over. And otherwise, it's going to be bloody on the over-unders this week. Mostly good for me or bad for me. I am in opposition to you, too, on a lot of these. It's not good. All right. Good times. Thank you, Matt. Well done, as usual. 855-PATS-500. You can email the show, webradio@patriots.com. From India, from Bangalore, India, this is Shrisha, who says, I don't think the coaches are being conservative with respect to play calling. The stats that Paul gave were interesting, but if possible, how many of them were short yardage, less than 3 yards? You know what stats he's talking about? Me neither.
No.
I think that might be a bit more meaningful for this argument. I think the play calling feels conservative because we overestimate the talent level on this team. I think conservative play calling is partly because of the talent level and because there's a lot of new faces this year.
I don't know.
Okay, so the talent...
I don't think the play calling has been overly conservative. But I also don't know what stats we're talking about. I assume this is something from the week.
Probably.
I don't know what we're talking
Nothing's
about.
jumping to mind.
I would just say this. I don't think the talent is overvalued. I think some of the play has been less than what we had anticipated from a couple few guys.
Oh.
So there's that. I mean, it's just giving it a different name. But look, there was some conservative play calling, especially down in the red zone early in the season. That I'll give them.
Yeah, no,
But
there
we're
have been
past that
times. There have definitely been times where they've been conservative. I don't think that overall, when you come out in the first game with your rookie quarterback, the very first week, and you throw the ball 40 times, I don't think that you're overly conservative. But I agree with you. There's the red zone early. There were a lot of screens. There were a lot of runs on 2nd and 10 from the 12. We're running the ball. Sort of playing for field goals. Absolutely. There's been times where they've been conservative. But I don't think as a rule, and Hardy's key to the game today, stay tricky. There's nothing conservative about throwing the ball twice on the same play.
We got the Patriots inactives here.
Do not get our sighting.
Devin Asiasi, Yasir Durant, J.J. Taylor, Brandon King, Ronnie Perkins, Sean Wade.
So no surprises there.
No big surprises. But we'll be Ramondre in for J.J. They're kind of swapping in and out.
So now did J.J. Taylor have a bad week of practice this week?
I guess. I've stopped trying to keep track.
So Brandon King was the only player who was listed as out before they made the trip.
Yeah,
correct.
Special teams.
They did elevate, was it Ekwale?
Yep, again, Daniel Ekwale again.
Sorry, Ekwale.
Ekwale?
See how he very subtly corrected me there?
Did I?
But
I'm not even sure I'm
He's
doing
such
it
a
right.
nice guy that
I
he
just
even
said
corrects
it.
you nicely.
I don't even know.
Like Eric would have said, it's Ekwale.
Eric's self-assured. I'm not 100%. But Devon Godshaw, Dante Hightower comes back after a week, off. So that'll be interesting. Miles Bryant again. Jawan Williams is again in the mix at cornerback. So we'll see how he gets used. And then Calvin Munson seems like he'll be right into the mix after coming back from Miami into the special teams role, which obviously Brandon King out. It's another hit for the special teams. So Jelani Tavai, as you mentioned, he's also in the mix. So yeah, they got their guys. We'll see how it comes together.
With the exception of offensive line, how would you describe the Patriots' injuries so far this season? Lucky, unlucky, pretty normal?
Probably in the pretty normal category. I mean, I think that James White was a big blow, but
yeah,
I think that's one that. I think that the ones that have hurt them, it's hurt them because they didn't really prepare like we wish they had prepared. Like I wish they had added a cornerback this offseason. I wish they had added another running back that can catch. And so I think the impact of those injuries is standard. I mean, I think that it's not losing your starting quarterback or your key tackle. I mean, Trent Brown's a little bit of a loss, but wasn't here last year. So I kind of stay standard.
I would go standard to leaning toward lucky because, for one of the reasons you just mentioned, depth at some of these positions, quarterback most notably. If Mac Jones goes out, they don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, we all like Brian Hoyer. Jared Stidham seems like a good guy, but neither one of them can quarterback a team.
Apparently not Mike White, who over the Jets is doing all right for himself.
I like how everybody, there's been a lot of Mike White love. Everybody's ignoring the 3 turnovers, evidently. I mean, it's the only reason why Cincinnati's got the lead is Mike White, but everybody's just got to beat up on up on Zach Wilson.
I'm very surprised the Lions haven't scored yet. It's just,
Are you?
It's just
you know what?
It's just weird.
I
picked your
this was their
Lions.
week.
I picked your Lions today. I thought this was the week.
How many were they getting?
Oh, I don't know.
I can tell you.
Picked them to win outright.
3.5.
No, you did.
They were getting 3.5.
He picked
did.
the Lions to win outright.
He did. There were a couple.
Not
of
your
those.
knockout pool.
No, in our PU picks.
Okay.
I didn't pick them.
No, I didn't. I picked him I picked him getting a ton of points earlier this year. By the way, on the Sports Hub show, we for the second time this year have hit our 5-game parlay. We've hit it twice this year alone.
Wow. Now that's just what you're advising listeners to. That's like your pick of the week kind of thing.
On Fridays, we all pick a game, and we went, I don't know, probably a stretch of 2 years without hitting the parlay.
Mm-hmm.
We've hit it twice already this year. Wow. And on a couple of, and then we run our picks past RJ Bell. He's like, oh, I don't know about that one, guys. You see, let me ask you something.
Who's the shark now?
Yeah, let me ask you something. If the okay, put it this way, Hardy. If the Lions were getting 13 at home, would you like them? And then tries to break it all down. I'm like, I don't know. It just seemed like a lot of points. I took the Lions and the points, but I'm bummed.
Yeah.
Don't ask me to analyze it.
Do you hear from any listeners who take your
We
picks?
get screenshots of people who take our parlay every week just for a goof for like $10. But on a 5-teamer, it pays a couple hundred.
Sure.
So it's nice.
Those are fun. Those are fun.
Yeah, we've hit it twice now. So we're doing well in that regard. But my God, those Lions, I don't think they're going to go winless again. But it's not right to call them snake bit because they do deserve a lot of the bad things that happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going back and looking at the list of coaches that they had. Like Jim Caldwell had a winning record.
Yeah.
He was. I mean,
they've had some good little pockets of performance.
He wasn't complete garbage. They had teams there. They had Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
I mean,
Calvin Johnson.
They won a bunch of games. They just haven't. They've won one playoff game in my lifetime.
That's what's crazy about that franchise. You've had, one of the greatest running backs of all time, one of the greatest wide receivers of all time, and combined, how many playoff wins did they have? Like, any? Did Barry Sanders win any playoff games? A couple, maybe. Calvin, maybe.
Mike, they've won one playoff game in the Super Bowl era, 1991. They have a banner for it.
Tough.
They celebrated the 25th anniversary of it back in 2016. I'm not joking.
Ceremony.
These are things that happened in life. That's it. One playoff win. One.
Wow.
91.
Eesh.
And Barry Sanders, it's good. I mean, it's a question for Paul, too. I'm sure he would blow it up.
I
say the only thing that stops him from being considered the greatest of all time is the fact that he couldn't overcome being a Lion, number one. And number two, he didn't play quite long enough. Again, forced into retirement because he was a Lion.
Just forget it.
Just like Calvin Johnson. I just won't play.
They both were just like, I can't.
It's the only team that's forced two of the all-time greats at their position to just say, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
It's hopeless. It's useless.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than Barry Sanders highlights. Just throw those on, watch him, stop on a dime.
I've never seen a better running back in my life. No. He, to me, is the greatest running back that's ever played the game, except for that pesky thing about never winning and not playing long enough.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just look at a guy's skill set on the field and tell me who's better. Tell me who's better than Barry Sanders.
Nobody. And he made them must watch, even though they weren't even going to the playoffs.
And he did it with shoulder pads that were 4 feet wide.
Right.
That's like all you have to do is
he was
grab
all
onto
shoulder pads and thighs. I mean, it was just all, it was
right.
Low to the ground, stop. Oh, my gosh. He just made people look dumb.
And even after teams realized after a few years, well, that's all they have. all we have to do is key on Barry, and he's still got his yards.
Do you think a player like that how much is his career influenced, you think, by the fact that the Lions were terrible and just like, I mean, would he, and I'm just saying this, I'm not saying I'm coming in hot with like, would he have been amazing if he was on the 49ers?
Right.
But would he, I mean, is it the same thing? Would he be the same player on a really talented team where maybe he never didn't get as many catches, didn't have the feeling of like, God, it's all on me? Or, I don't know. I'm just kind of a philosophical question.
It's a great question. You could ask the same question about Tom Brady. Would Tom Brady have been the same quarterback? Right? And the quarterback that he is today, if he were given, his choice of receivers every single year, and he had good receivers over the years, but they were not considered to be great receivers. I mean, we're talking about Wes Welker, Julian Edelman. They were great when they were here with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
For every Randy Moss, I will give you
oh my God,
3 bums.
Yeah.
Sure. And I'm not talking about guys who won and contributed. I'm talking about guys who just never got the ball because they couldn't. They just couldn't play the game.
Yeah.
But did that somehow inspire Brady and compel him to be better at his job than anyone has in the history of the league?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because he did it for so long, and he went through so many different guys and different kinds of offenses and different, ways of moving the ball. And I mean, there was always kind of a core of it, but it is interesting. And sometimes guys end up in a place where all of a sudden things line up and you get a chance, and other places you might be sitting there forever, and because a certain player never gets hurt or for whatever reason you never get that chance. But certainly the players you play with influence you, and I mean it's crazy to watch him in the beginning and watch him now. He looks like a different guy.
Well, that's a good point too, because a lot of people don't know this. Brady is still playing. He plays for a different team now.
Tom Brady,
but still Tom Brady, and still playing at a pretty high level.
Pretty high level.
Pretty good.
He's amazing.
Gronkowski, you got to mention Gronkowski.
Yeah.
He had some good players.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, sure.
He had some good players with him, but not always. Let's go to Nick in Vermont. Nick, you're on the Patriots pregame show. I almost called it the postgame show. Wishful thinking. What's up there, Nick?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Great.
How's Vermont this time of year?
Oh.
We're past peak for the peeping, right?
Yeah.
We just got a lot of rain, so it's not that great here, and I'm just looking forward to the snow so I can go snowboarding.
There you go.
Love it.
There you go. Do you like to smoke the marijuana pot dope on the chairlift on the way up? Do you do that?
Obviously.
Yeah. A lot of you snowboarders.
When in Vermont.
You love to take your marijuana and then glide down the mountain, don't you?
Still wrap yourself around a tree.
Let's go smoke that joint.
That's right. Do you listen to your freak out music while you're on the snowboard there, Nick?
Oh yeah, of course, always.
Yeah. What do you listen to?
I'm mixed, honestly. Sometimes I listen to rock, sometimes I listen to rap.
Yeah,
it really depends.
Just what
I really wanted to talk about
whatever your dope is telling you to do that day. I understand. Go ahead, Nick. What's your football question?
Like a dad from the 70s over here.
Like the way we use N'Keal Harry, I just feel like isn't like the best way, because every time we put him on like a 50-50 jump ball, he's come down with it every time he's done that. Like every time we've thrown it up to him, he catches it, and we don't really do that a lot. And I feel like we just I don't know why we don't do it more.
Well,
it's one of those things that you think about when you're in an altered state. Like, why don't they just do that more? I understand where you're coming from. No, you know what?
I get why they can't just do that, but like they put him on these slant routes and he can't really get separation. He's more of that like physical receiver.
Let me tell you something about those 50-50 jump balls. They're tough to throw.
They're called 50-50 for a reason.
They're called 50-50 for a reason. You're playing percentages right now with a rookie quarterback, but also it's not. You and I can't go out there and throw a 50-50 jump ball. You got to put it in the right spot, or else if it is that tenuous in terms of who's going to come down with it, if it's slightly off, it is absolutely going the other way. Yeah. So I think that's why teams don't do that in general, and why you wouldn't do it with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah. I'm Captain Obvious.
I mean, I think last week's catch looked good, but it's just we've seen that over the first few years with Harry. When he does show up, it's usually one of those catches, and it's a 50-50 ball. I want something more in time with the offense, something that produces, and I think they really like his blocking, but I think the reality is right now is he's the 4th, 5th receiver on this team. He has a specialized role in blocking. In the red zone, they put him in there, and maybe they will throw him that 50-50 ball, but until he consistently starts to step up and do more, I mean, you just look at Kendrick Bourne. I mean, it's a guy who comes in. This is his first year. He wasn't a first-round pick. He's experienced guy, but you're starting to see more and more out of him. You're starting to see production. You're starting to see catch and run. You've never really seen those things out of Harry. So at a certain point, it is what it is, and you kind of stop waiting for something new and amazing to happen and just realize it kind of is what it is, and you just have to look at the other guys and expect the other guys to be more productive. That's what I'm hoping for. Aguilar, can he start to emerge a little more? Can he be more consistent? But Harry, we'll see. I think that's kind of
before we
ship has sailed.
Yeah, let's try some of that before we just start throwing up 50-50 jump balls like it's Stafford throwing to Calvin Johnson, which they threw a ton of those back and they did double, triple coverage.
Yeah,
because it was Calvin Johnson.
Right.
All right, you're going to come down with it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's work on that. I like your idea better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
work on an actual offense instead. TJ in New Jersey. What's up, TJ?
I first want to give kudos to Hardy for his key to the game with trick plays. I've been calling for trick plays all year. I think I'd like to see a series of just back-to-back trick plays. Even if you don't win, it's going to be fun. But I wanted to ask you guys, because I've mostly been listening to games this year, haven't been able to watch them all. Have you guys seen a lot of the amoeba defense we used to have under Flores up front? And if not, where is it gone? Now that we have the boogeyman back, almost intact, you think we bring it back?
What do you think, Deuce?
No, not really. I mean, I always, specific to that, I think a lot of times it's a third and long defense where you kind of have the linebackers walking around. You have maybe one down lineman, used to be Adam Butler, and now it's probably Barmore. But I don't think that's like a big strategic point that they're missing out on. I think that the linebackers haven't been as effective. And, I mean, they've been easing Jamie Collins into things. It hasn't been like Jamie Collins has come back and he's just one of the top 4 linebackers. So I don't think it's in even apples to apples. And you've also had guys in and out. You had Van Noy missed a game. You had Hightower missed a game. You haven't really had the full complement of those guys yet. You certainly haven't had Jamie Collins playing at a significant 3/4 of the snap level. So perhaps, I mean, I think that there's some use to that, but I also think that they've been fairly effective on third down. So it's definitely still a tool in the toolbox. I just don't think they've quite have the same level of linebackers that they had a couple years ago, even though they are the same guys.
TJ, I'm glad you're listening to the games. Do you listen to Sosi and Zolak when they call it?
Oh my God, I forgot what game it was. I thought Zoe was going to kill himself. He lost it.
But how is that because I get to listen to it while I'm watching it for the home games anyway, and I do enjoy their call. I still think they're doing a good job. It's the best work that Zoe does all week. It's the only work that he does all week because he's useless in every other aspect. It's true.
I think they do a great job, but I'd really like to watch Deuce and Paul watch a game. Can you guys maybe set up like a stream?
Oh, you don't want to see that.
I don't.
I do.
Well, you know what?
I'm high comedy to watch during the game. Deuce, however, is very, very emotional.
It's a roller coaster.
Let me tell you something, TJ, and this is and thanks for the call, buddy. It would be absolutely fascinating to hear Paul's commentary during the game because I learn as much about football watching a game with Paul than I do anything, and it reminds me of watching hockey with Billy Jaffe, right? Just watching the game with somebody who truly knows the game. And I tell you what blows me away about Paul, his predictive abilities about certain plays and certain things and things that he sees.
Almost Tony Romo-esque.
Deuce will teach you things about defense, but Paul is just one of these overall football savants.
Yeah.
It really is. I think it'd be fascinating.
I know you're sort of tongue-in-cheek there.
I'm being 100%.
It's high praise to say it's like watching hockey with Billy Jaffe. Billy Jaffe knows more about hockey than I will ever learn about football. I mean, Billy Jaffe, that's I think it's a great compliment that you just gave me, but I'm not anywhere near at that level.
I tell you what, it's also like it's sitting here watching the Revs with back when I'd watch soccer in here with Shalry. Oh my God, Shalry sees things happening on the field, but Clyde Sims is the same way.
So when you watch those guys with soccer, they say, "Oh, look, there was a give and go right there." Did you see that? That's the entire game.
No, it's
triangles. Gotta make triangles.
It's mostly.
I'm just kidding.
No,
No, because I know we have the huge European fan base.
No.
And in the UK right now, they're all still like, that Perillo.
I still think it's a relatively simple game, right? But then they will point out nuances, and Clyde will say just something that's like, "Oh man, you gotta be on your left foot there." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he'll point out something just very, not rudimentary, but something very obvious to him defensively when he's watching, like the back line. It's like, no, man, if he's coming across there and he's looking for the cross there, you gotta have your weight placed on the left foot because you're going to have to bop back the other way. And it's like, it doesn't look like anyone did anything wrong. He's like, you got to be on your left foot there.
Yeah.
That's just cool stuff like that you don't pick up.
It's funny, it goes back. We kind of talked about it this week a little bit. I just think that with all sports, there's certainly, like Greg Cosell, for example, like somebody who's going to explain it. But I also think that there's just a level of sports watching that, you just know. Paul's watched 20 years of football. He can watch it. He doesn't know what the cover six, what it is. It doesn't matter, though. You can watch. You can see what guys are doing, what they're supposed to do, and who isn't. And so, yeah, I know some people like the finer points. I certainly love a lot of those guys, too. But there's also just, I think, in all sports, hockey, Billy Jaffe, it's like, just watch the game. I mean, 90% of what you probably need to know, you can figure it out if you're at least experienced with the sport. Maybe you didn't play it all the way through the pros, but if you watch it enough and you pay attention to it, you're invested in it, you probably know, even if you can't tell us what the coverage breakdown was in, X's and O playbook terms.
Hey, and one thing, sort of just switching back to the game, one thing we haven't really talked about, it's a big road game today, for the Patriots. It looks like it's going to be a huge Patriots contingent, not surprising.
Nice.
A lot of Boston people out in L.A.
So maybe kind of like the Dallas game here, more of a Super Bowl kind of vibe where it's more of a neutral crowd as opposed to a real partisan crowd for the Chargers.
Okay, but I don't think it was like a neutral crowd at Gillette Stadium for that Cowboys game. I think that was a Dallas crowd. I think that fully.
Okay. Well, maybe today will be more of a Patriots crowd than neutral.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
no, that was a huge.
Do you
Dallas
think they'll be standing up for it, or? Sorry.
I don't know. Is it raining there?
I checked last night. I was just curious. They still have plenty of seats left, but I mean, there's 500 level. It's like here, you're like, oh, 300s. They're like, oh, you want to go sit in the 500s for $50? Crazy. But personally, some of the greatest fan experiences I had were in that old San Diego Stadium watching the Patriots. So I know that there's a healthy contingent of Patriot fans in Southern California that I'm sure will make their presence felt today.
Nice. All right, 855-PATS-500. And when it comes to watching sports on the TV, like you were talking about, to that point, it's just levels. Like my wife and kids, and you guys will both back me up on this, I don't know anything, right, about sports.
I think you like to play that role.
They think I'm a genius when we're watching sports together because I just from watching. It's not from playing. It's not from having any ability.
Right.
Just I'm watching the game. I've watched.
You used to do
a
that
lot of sports.
when you and Marcy were courting. Right, you used to do that to impress her, right?
Forcing her into questionable appearances. Your stand-up things.
You would take the most routine thing and make it up. Watch on this play. It's like first and goal from the 1. They're going to run the ball into the end zone on this play. Watch.
What was that pitch?
How did you know they were going to do that?
I'll be Scott Peterson.
Yes, I'll marry
you. Pregnant.
To this day, this is how much of an influence I had early on. Not now, nothing. She has no time for me at all. But this girl from Nebraska, to this day, you ask her who her favorite athletes are of all time, she will list among them Rasheed Wallace from the 04 Pistons team. She loved Rasheed Wallace because we watched every single dribble of that playoff.
Defense, right?
Oh, my God. Spee in Fresno. What's up, Spee?
I prefer myself some Chauncey Billups from that team. That was a fun team to watch.
Mr. Big Shot. So you're not driving down for the game today? Fresno ain't exactly close to L.A.,
Ooh, that's a long drive on the 5.
I could have made it, but I'm recouping from some stuff that went on, but feeling good. Hey, got a question. Mike, you picked the Patriots, right, last Thursday?
Yep.
Today? You picked that? You picked them?
Yep.
And Paul, what about you?
I'm sorry, I didn't know the question.
Did Paul pick them?
Did you pick the Patriots to win?
Did you pick the Patriots to win today?
I did not. We usually do that at the end of the show. But
Sorry about that.
I have the
I'm-
Chargers today, but I have the Patriots covering.
Got it. Yeah. And so Mike, I want to kind of get into your head. I'm just trying to figure out, like, I just looking at this team, are you that swayed by last week against the Jersey Jets? I mean, I just don't really get it. Like, they beat up on bad teams this year. Why should I think they're going to win today?
Well, I mean, I don't know how good the Chargers really are. I think I just think it's going to be one of those games that's going to be back and forth. I don't think that the Patriots are going to roll. But I think that the Patriots are building. I mean, I want to believe that they're going to be able to play. Put it this way: I think that they can play a clean game today. I think that they can not turn the ball over, and I think that that's a big key for them. They've only done that twice this season, both times against the Jets, and I think if they can just do that, it's a good first step to having a game that is close. And I also like Damian Harris. I think Stevenson going today. I like that. I like those two guys going. If they are able to run the ball, I think there's going to be some good things. But I think it's back and forth. I sure don't feel like, oh, this is easily the Patriots. I think this is a last possession kind of game. And, you know, I think of all things being equal, if I'm going to predict the last possession game, I'm just going to pick the Patriots because why not?
So it's kind of like if you're thinking about some of the closer games they've had this season, the Bucs, for instance, better than the Chargers, you know, where the Patriots couldn't pull it off in the critical moment. You think they're going to be clutch when they need to be clutch for that?
I think so. I mean, that's what I hope. I mean, and I think that there certainly has been plenty of evidence this year to say in those big moments that they haven't been able to deliver those things. But I still just think these guys work too hard. I think they're a better team than we've seen. The Jets game is definitely an outlier in terms of everything that game brought to the table as, you know, far as mindset and who you're going against. And it's a divisional rival. You've seen them already. It's just a lot of unique stuff. I'm just not sold on the Chargers, too, just generally. I mean, I get all the Staley
that's where I'm
hype.
very defensive of you, Mike. Like, let's not make the Chargers out to be the Bucs. You know, like, this is not a game like those two games.
Right.
This is the Chargers.
But it would still be if the Patriots were Speed, thanks for the call, buddy. We appreciate it. Okay, thank you. If the Patriots were able to get a win today, does it count as a win over a good team?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. But it's not to the level of the Bucs.
Different category.
Like the Bucs is, I don't know, depending on what you want to think, one of the three best teams in football.
Oh yeah.
Like the Chargers might be a playoff team. Might.
Right. Would it be as good as a win over the Cowboys? No. So, but still a good team. I mean, they've got a winning record. You look at their wins, though, and this I heard Beadle and Gasper talking about this on my way in. It's like, well, you know, they're definitely better, you know, and they're definitely figuring things out with the Chargers. But, Mike, do you have it pulled up there what their record is so far this year?
The Chargers?
Yes.
4-2.
Yeah, 4-2.
No. Like the teams all four.
They lost to Dallas and they lost to Baltimore. Those are the two losses.
Yeah, they beat the
Washington, Raiders, Washington,
Chiefs, Raiders, Browns.
Yes.
Okay.
So they have good wins and they have losses to good teams.
Yes. So, a bit back and forth. Have they beaten any team that's better than the one that they've lost, than the ones that they've lost to?
You confuse yourself with that question. I could see it on
Do
your
they
eyes.
have a win against a team that's better?
The best team that they played is probably Dallas, would you say?
Yeah, probably Dallas, unless you want to tell me the Chiefs are good.
Well, certainly not through 7 weeks. Now, we might have a different conversation later in the year, but and I'm not taking that win away from them. The Chiefs were still the Chiefs when they beat them. But, I mean, what we've seen out of Kansas City through 7 weeks has been that they're a bad team.
Yeah,
right? They're 3-4.
Yeah, I would say the Cowboys is the best team they played.
I would say Dallas is the best team they've played, and now you're going to be looking at Dallas possibly without Dak tonight. So who knows what that team looks like without its quarterback.
Exactly. All right. Well, we'll continue with your phone calls here, 855-PATS-500. We'll take your emails and read those on the air, webradio@patriots.com, like this one from Joe. My take on Mac Jones, he makes the difficult things in playing NFL football look simple. Great athletes all make the game look simple, almost at times like the athlete is not trying, like a Joe Cool Montana, Deion Sanders, and many more. Might want to pump the brakes a little.
Do we have any examples? I mean, I'm not pumping the brakes at all, but I just, like, what are the examples of the things that he makes look easy?
I think reading defenses, which he's probably we
So
already
something
said,
you can't see.
We've yeah.
That's what I figured, because I don't really see anything that he makes look easy.
Yeah, and the whole trick of not trying, this goes across all sports. I've had in-depth conversations recently with golfers about this. I finally cracked the code on the golf swing, by the way.
Oh, congratulations!
After all these years.
Oh my!
Now I can't do it, but it is essentially you got to become that second swing golfer.
Scratch golf. Here you come, right?
Well, the ball that you hit in the water, and you're like, you just throw another one down and you flush it, hit it perfectly.
Oh.
How do you do it that second time? Because you're not trying.
That's a great point.
You're not trying.
It's a great point.
You have to take the try out of it. And I think that's what Joe is saying, that these guys look like they're doing it effortlessly. It is the toughest thing to accomplish. If you're still trying at this level, then you're not going to be able to do. You have to remove the try, and just it has become second nature. So there's not a lot that I'm seeing that's quite second nature for me yet, I guess, to your point, Paul.
Yeah, no, and I think that he does a lot of things well. I am really excited about the way he's played. We talked about this, but I'm just when someone makes a comment like how a guy makes things look easy, like Ken Griffey Jr. was like just such a graceful athlete that he would run a ball down in the gap, and you could see it. He was running in a manner in which you said, "No sweat, he's got this." What about the way, if you're going to tell me the way he reads a defense, he might make that look easy. I can't see that.
Yeah.
That's an intangible. I can't see, I can't quantify it. But if you're telling me on 3rd and 10 he scrambles for 12 yards, he didn't make that look easy. Like he was lumbering around the side. I don't think that he necessarily throws the best looking passes. Don't care. They get completed.
Yeah, that's.
I don't care that if it's effortless or he's got Ryan Fitzpatrick. Nobody made a pass look more difficult than Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? This guy doesn't look like that. Yeah, remember? He would throw a 10-yard out and looked like, if that was 12, forget it. He couldn't get it there.
Yeah.
I think Mac Jones looks really good. There are 2 38-0 games going on at the current moment. In one of them, I picked the team with 0 to win.
I tell you what. The Lions.
Yeah.
I can't believe
they just fumbled. They just fumbled, and the Eagles returned it for a touchdown.
Of course they did.
Now the Rams went in. John McClain said that the Rams should probably sit their starters in the second half at halftime.
That's why he's the favorite.
We'll check in on these games a little bit later. Changing things up a little bit here as we will bring you the warm-ups when they become available to us. But since they're going to be a little later today, we're going to do the Sunday six-pack right now.
This is the Sunday six-pack, so kick back and listen to the position. I'm itching to get the picks back. You better bring a big stack. Don't get it mixed yet. I came to win it, yeah, this is the Sunday six-pack.
First really bad week for me in the Sunday six-pack, but Matt, I don't know what you're chuckling about over there, Chuckles.
Chuckles, yeah.
Matt, what happened last week, and where do we stand on the season?
Oh, Hardy, 1-5. Paul, 2-4. Mike, 4-2.
Hey.
So I must have lost my season lead after going 1-5.
No. They're catching up. They're catching up.
Oh, no! Oh, not by a damn sight is what you meant to say. Still 21-16 on the year, as opposed to Johnny 17-20 and Jimmy 17-20.
There you go.
Suckling hind teat.
Am I Johnny or Jimmy?
You're Johnny.
Damn it.
All right.
Just
So
so
we
you
got
know.
what?
Bordering on a little bit obnoxious right there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, just a little bit.
Just take it down a little bit.
Sorry.
We do have a full six-pack this week. 4 p.m. games, 1-5 Jacksonville Jaguars at the 2-5 Seattle Seahawks. Seattle -3.5.
Duh.
I echo their sentiments exactly.
I didn't say they were good games.
Geno Smith. Give me Geno Smith over Trevor Lawrence in Seattle. That seems like a tough place for any rookie to play, no matter how so-so the Seahawks are.
I really, really want to take Jacksonville in this game, but I can't because of what you just said about Trevor Lawrence and being in that place for the first time. I think Jacksonville is probably pretty close talent-wise with Seattle right now, without Russell Wilson. I don't think there's probably a huge difference. The spread would indicate that. But I think that Lawrence will have some trouble in that environment for the first time, so I will take Seattle. Not feel great about it, though.
You're taking Jacksonville, Deuce?
No, we both.
Oh, sorry, I took Seattle.
No, we both took Seattle.
Okay.
What are you trying to do? Mind games on us.
This is why
I
they
see
get
what's going
confused.
on.
This is why there's mistakes every week.
Just playing checkers. Chess.
I got to tell you, you could tell me the outcome of this game, and it could be anything. I won't know because I will not watch it for 1 second. I mean, do you
We'll just tell you next week.
Do you have any interest in like actually seeing this game today?
Not really.
no.
The only interest I have in any of these games of this type is to see how Lawrence played after the fact. Like I've been sort of watching the highlights when they throw up the San Francisco-Chicago game just to see what Justin Fields looks like. But no, not really any interest in the game at all.
Just because it's in Seattle, I'll take the Seahawks. But that's the only reason I can give you.
I'm really interested in this Jets-Cincinnati game because I don't like what Cincinnati's doing. But you're taking Seattle? Is that what you said?
I'm taking Seattle, yes.
Next, we have the 2-5 Washington football team at the 3-4 Denver Broncos. Denver -3.5.
Paulie, you're up first.
I am going to take the Broncos here. Jerry Jeudy coming back has gotten a lot of attention this week. I think that they can get back to that offense the way it looked to start the season a little bit. Their Broncos defense was supposed to be really good, and that's one of those things. You know how when you don't know, you sort of listen to people who you think might know, and they're telling you stuff, and you start to think, oh, so-and-so said X. And that's what I started to think. The Broncos have a really good defense.
Yeah.
Hasn't really worked out that way.
It's like with Washington's defense, too.
Well, Washington's defense, at least I saw last year, played really well. They've just sucked this year for whatever reason. Maybe they did it with mirrors.
I just tell you, like one small, tiny component of this game
I'll take Denver.
And I'm taking Denver too because in the aftermath of the Las Vegas Raiders situation, what's the other team that always gets brought up? Like, how come we're going after Gruden? What about Daniel Snyder? What about all the stuff in Washington? What about all the stuff? It's a tiny, tiny distraction, but if those players are thinking about it at all, if there's anything going, they're getting asked about it. It's a topic of conversation. Just enough distraction to where I'll say, yeah, and it's in Denver. Give me the Broncos.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Broncos, too. A lot of talk this week. Brandon Staley coming from Fangio defense, been interested in that whole thing going on. But, yeah, I'm going to take the Broncos, too.
Have you noticed that? It's all, what about Daniel Snyder? What about Daniel Snyder? That has been the mantra in the aftermath of this John Gruden thing.
Yeah.
All right.
See, I guess Gruden is sort of contemplating suing the NFL.
Yeah.
For making all that public and whatnot.
Yes.
I can see it.
Me too.
6-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the 4-2 New Orleans Saints. Tampa -4.
Hottie?
Yeah, I made the mistake of thinking that Tampa couldn't get it done last week, laying a bunch of points with having so many people out. I'm kind of off the doubting Tom Brady. Anything he does train, I will lay those 4 points, no problem.
I'm with you, Hardy. I do have a lot of respect for the Saints defense. I know they gave the Bucs problems last year. I know Antonio Brown's still out. I think Gronk coming back, but still a little banged up. But yeah, I'm not betting against Tom Brady and the Bucs.
So I had a little fun during the course of the week. Last week, if you recall, I picked Chicago, and I said that the Bears defense gave Brady trouble, right? So I don't know if you know this, Hardy, but when you're wrong with a pick, no one really ever lets you know about it on Twitter.
They forget. They just let it go.
Okay, so I did have some fun, and I laughed back at a guy. I said, yeah, I said, to be honest with you, I thought of you immediately because there was one guy in particular that said they didn't have any trouble. Like Brady's 5-1 against Chicago, and I was like, who cares what they are? Like I'm talking about last year with this team, Tampa against Chicago.
Right.
They had trouble. And by the way, this is the loser's lament. This is why I don't gamble. Brady had some trouble last week with the Chicago defense. He had his worst completion percentage of the season and his second fewest yards of the season. The problem was Justin Fields turned the ball over 5 times.
He helped.
And that's why I'm taking Tampa in this game as well, because I think that the Saints offense will not be able to do its part. I think he will have trouble with the Saints defense today, but it won't matter. I'll take Tampa.
Your reasoning was on point, and I think you're out of the room when I said that on the midday show on the Sports Hub, we hit our 5-teamer for a second time this season. We didn't hit for two years, right? And we hit last week.
That's impressive.
And one of the total luck, but one of the picks was Zoe always picks either the Steelers or the Buccaneers.
He still loves the Steelers.
Yeah, still loves them. And he picked the Bucs last week.
That must be so hard for him because the Patriots and Steelers have played so many big games.
Yeah.
That must be so hard for him.
So you're laying a ton of points, and they don't have anybody. He's going to only. Didn't matter. So, All right, moving on. We got a Sunday night game to pick here.
The 5-1 Dallas Cowboys at the 3-3 Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota -3.
That's back to you, Deuce.
Wow. So what's the feeling on Dak
It looks
right now?
looks like there's a real chance that Dak does not play. Cooper Rush would be the answer to your question.
Yeah, all right. Then in that case, I got to take Minnesota. As much as they always vex me, they go whatever way. This time, I'm going with them, though. If they're playing the backup quarterback from Dallas, I feel like this is the time to go with them.
Who's the quarterback for Minnesota?
Kirk Cousins.
And where did he go to school?
Spotty.
Is he feeling good at all this weekend?
Oh, right.
Is he feeling good at all?
If they can do it.
Give me the Vikings.
I can do it.
It's just gonna spread that Spartan love.
I am going to take the Vikings as well. And this is another one. It was classic moments in Patriots Unfiltered history. Fred was perplexed by the fact that the Cowboys were only 3-point favorites in this game. They know something. They know something. I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, and then he's like, oh, it's the Dak Prescott injury. And I'm like, but Fred, the Vikings aren't a terrible team, and they're on the road Sunday night, blah, blah. So we had this whole nonsensical talk like only we can have.
A lot of hope Hardy's listening to this.
Yeah. Right.
I'm sorry, I missed
Sure
it.
enough, now it looks like Dak isn't going to play,
Right.
and the line has changed by 6 points. The Cowboys have gone from favored by 3 to underdogs by 3.
The whole Vegas knows something. That just annoys me. That annoys me. But
Well, that's your guys.
I
Your
know.
guys, they invented that.
I know.
Locally.
I know.
Monday Night Football, the 2-5 New York Giants at the 3-4 Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City -10.
And I apologize for going out of order on that one. I picked right
Did you
after.
go out of order?
I did.
That's
I did. So, Paul, you're up first on this one.
Oh,
I picked right after Deuce on that last one.
Oh,
That's
all
why I
right.
went out of it.
All right.
Go ahead.
I didn't even notice. I'm going to take the Giants to cover this game because the Chiefs never cover. I think you go back to like the last, I don't know, was it 16, 18 games? I think they're like 2 wins against the spread.
Yeah.
Something ridiculous. I think Kansas City will get back on track and win this game, but I'm going to take the points.
I think at some point Kansas City will figure it out, and they got to turn it around. They're going to do it. It may not turn around the season, but they're not going to. They're not going to falter consistently. If you were picking this game early in the season or before the season started, you'd lay those 10. So
yeah,
even with the information at hand, I'm still going to lay the 10. I'll take the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same. I think it's a lot of mistakes on their own, and it's the same thing to talk about with the Patriots. Just stop beating yourselves, Chiefs. Stop throwing. It's trying to impress people with the late down throws across the field, and just make the plays that are there and beat teams with your speed like you used to do. So I don't know. I'm gonna take Kansas City and then lay the points.
And wrapping it up with the 3-4 New England Patriots at the 4-2 Los Angeles Chargers. The LAC -4.5.
All right, you know how a couple of times this year people have wished for the Patriots to go for it on 4th down, not settle for the field goal. And there is this notion that you will do that more on the road than you will do at home for some reason. You will take those and I still don't quite understand the reasoning behind that, but they will do that today. They will not get the first down, and when they could kick a field goal, they will end up just losing there on the spot by turning the ball over on downs. Patriots, however, do cover 27-24.
That was like a long prophet. Let me tell you why this one's gonna stink, guys. Yeah, that would stink, Hardy. I'm gonna have a little bit more positive attitude. I think the Patriots put together a good game today. I think it's back and forth. I have a respect for Justin Herbert. I think he's a fantastic player. He's got some good weapons. We'll see how effective Ekeler is, but I think it's a big Nick Folk day. Field goals. I got Patriots 29-28.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm going to make it unanimous with the Patriots taking the points for the Patriots, but I'm going to side with Hardy and say that they're going to lose the game. I think this could go either way. I really don't think the Chargers are anything special. I think the teams are more evenly balanced than some people have made it out to be. I think there's some high-end talent that the Chargers have that maybe the Patriots don't, but I think the rosters are pretty similar. And I think it'll be a close, competitive game, and I think the Chargers will just make one or two more plays and come away with a 27-23 victory. So your score was very close to mine.
All right. So
Sam Darnold just got a big hit. And who do the Patriots play next week?
I think it's the Panthers?
Yes.
I believe it is. All right. There's your Sunday six-pack. We are going to step aside here for a moment. We'll come back. Hopefully have the warm-ups here for you pretty soon because the game's going to start pretty soon. In Los Angeles, where the Patriots will visit the Chargers today, we're going to say thank you to our friends at Bridgestone. Now through November 3rd, buy 4 Bridgestone tires and get $70 off instantly at any Sullivan tire. Bridgestone, official tire of the New England Patriots. Visit sullivantire.com for details.
TouchView Interactive is here to support your hybrid learning, distance learning, and video conferencing needs with easy-to-use tools that allow end users to collaborate, interact, and present seamlessly. TouchView Interactive offers a comprehensive line of accessories and software to support your audio-visual needs. Outfit your classrooms and presentation spaces with the future of interactive display technology. Visit touchview.com for more info. Offered by the Oakers Company, celebrating 100 years of service and support.
That looks awful. Football's back and it's time to go big. Pepsi pulled pork sandwiches are game day greatness. Now we're ready for game day. Check out some more awesome recipes on madeforpatriotswatching.com.
Join the conversation by calling the Ace Ticket hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at webradio@patriots.com.
This coach and his staff, those things wouldn't happen. And as long as they continue to happen, I don't want to see them happen.
Live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, here's Hardy.
You know, there's people like Deuce who are picking the Patriots to win this game, and I think it's a fine pick. I mean, we're all picking a close game here today. I just wonder why the Chargers aren't getting maybe more respect. I mean, they're a 4-2 football team. Justin Herbert appears to be coming into his own. A lot of people like him as a quarterback. Do you think they're suffering from the LA comparison? I mean, the Rams appear to be legit with their new quarterback this year. I mean, could it be something as simple as like a localized bias toward the other LA team right now, and the Chargers just aren't getting that much attention, respect from the fans there, not only locally but around the country? They're kind of like the other LA team right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would compare them more to just the traditional Chargers of being that team that's always talented. I mean, the glaring example would be Rivers and Tomlinson, that 06, 07 kind of stretch where they had all the pieces and just could never quite get over the hump and knock the Patriots out of the playoffs. But I think that's I don't see it as much as a direct correlation to the Rams right now as I just do the old Chargers. And, when you get into it, you maybe have a couple early wins that are impressive, but, when it really starts to matter, can you win those big games? And I think that's just any team like that, and maybe even our biases toward the Patriots are similar on the opposite end of the spectrum, where you just kind of still assume, even though it's a very different team, that they're going to start to, play full team football and kind of put it all together. So perhaps, and I think that's what's fun about this time of year. Those are when, teams really start to show you who they really are and whether or not they are still teams of the past that you might relate them to. Right?
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. There's something at play, though, whether it's like that historical perspective of the team or
it's hard
just
to
something.
escape. I think every team has that to some degree, where it's like, Pittsburgh. I just think, like, you walk into a game with Pittsburgh, even if they're, 2 wins in the season, like, there's just always something about they've got an aura. They've always kind of had an aura. And
I think the Lions are suffering from it this year. They're just not getting a lot of respect, and I know they're having an off week this week, but otherwise they play some really solid football, and people don't want to.
It is funny, because there's a lot of talk about the different levels of teams. Like, there's, in the NFC especially, you have the Packers, the Bucks, the Cowboys, the Rams. They all have one loss. They're all, at the top. In the NFC, the AFC, it's, the Bills and, those kinds of teams. The Chargers, the Raiders. There's a lot of 2-loss teams, the Titans. But there's a lot of, good good teams going on both sides. And then there's a very small middle class. Right, and then there's some terrible teams like Sorry, Hardy. Your
Yeah.
Lions. The Texans, like teams that are just really struggling to do anything. And what I find interesting about it is it's sort of started to be reflected in the scores each week. There's a very high number of one-score games, and, of course, the NFL was quick to point those out at the owners' meetings this week. All these, I think that they're on record overtime games at this point of the season, and an incredible amount of games that have been decided by one score in the fourth quarter. Well, I mean, as you see the two 38-0 games going on right now, there's also a record number of 3-score games
How can
in
you
the
have,
NFL this year.
How
There's
can
no
you
in
have
between.
all of those things?
There's
It's
no in
crazy.
between. There's unbelievable blowouts. Last week was ridiculous with all the blowouts. And, you're starting to see some close games going on and some blowouts going on. And that's reflected in the standings. There's no middle class in the standings.
Yeah.
The Patriots are one of the few teams that is sort of in the middle.
Well, I have a theory about the blowouts and why those are taking place. And that is teams that enter the fourth quarter where let's go back 10 years ago. If you've got a 17-point lead with 6 minutes to go, you're feeling pretty good about things. Now, 17 points with 6 minutes left on the clock, the way the game is called now, the skill of some of the quarterbacks and the receivers, the way the rules are, 17 points doesn't mean the game is over. You can score a couple of touchdowns and get in field goal position relatively easily.
I need to take a 20.
Go ahead.
I need to the 4th-and-1 run that Justin Fields just made against San Francisco is just unbelievable. Just an unbelievable individual effort. There's nothing about this play that worked, except for he just refused to get tackled and made it work.
He's very excited.
He ended up running for a touchdown. It was about maybe a 20-yard run, but it's 4th and less than 1, and the Niners have it completely stuffed. And he reverses field and just makes an incredible athletic play. These are the things that Justin Fields brings. He'll learn how to sort of read defenses and understand some of the concepts they're doing, but you can't teach this.
Yeah, that's my first look at it.
And you see, immediately he stumbles, he gets hit, and then he misses another guy,
3, 4,
completely reverses
5.
field, and then just leaves everybody in the dust.
Yeah. Dust 5 guys in the backfield before taking
Oh, my God. Cuts back another time.
No business being in the end zone. Phil Perry chiming in from Los Angeles. Isaiah Wynn, Ted Karras, David Andrews, Shaq Mason, Michael Onwenu. So offensive line
That's the
looks
group.
like it's going to stay the same.
Yep. That's a good group.
We have an email here from Mike who says, I can predict a big day for the home wrecker Judon. I know last year Uche was in the backfield all day against Herbert. Over under on Pat sacks at 3.5? Question mark. That's
take
from
the
Mike,
under.
who says go Pats. I would love to see a big day from Judon. I think that'd be
I would
great.
too. I mean, I think statistically a little quiet the last couple of weeks after kind of going gangbusters there, but I mean he's been a huge find, and I think it's getting to Herbert and just keeping him because man, as the guys talked about this week, just his ability to get the ball downfield and forcing the secondary to cover longer. They've got some guys. I mean, Keenan Allen, as savvy as they come, can get away. I mean, Mike Williams, if you get stuck on a not ideal matchup, he's a big guy, man. He can go up and he gets stuck with Miles Bryant on him or, anybody else. I think he's got abilities to make plays downfield. So, yeah, it's a big key, getting to Herbert, finishing him off when you get there. And, it's just like even when you get there, though, 3rd down, 3rd and 5, oh, it's a huge down. You get there, you get the sack. 4th and 8, oh, they're going for it. That's the kind of stuff you just have to mentally be prepared for the game to go like that, where your emotions are so jacked to get a 3rd down stop, when then you just have to keep in mind you got to be ready to go on 4th down too, because they will go for it. Doesn't matter what the yardage is, what the field position is, they are aggressive, and that's a big key and trait of their team.
Poor Justin Fields. They missed the extra point.
Oh, did they really?
And they're losing by a point.
Oh, my God.
Ooh, big moment here for the Texans. With 8 minutes to go, they have a chance to slice into this lead.
Rex,
and they do. Rex Burkhead slams it in, 38-7. We'll be back in a minute.
I tell you defensively who you want to keep an eye on today, and not in a good way, that is Chase Winovich. I don't know if his mood is going to be described as melancholy or if he's going to be angry and try and get out there and do some things that could result in some personal fouls.
He's out, guy.
What's that?
He's out.
Oh, Winovich. Oh, that's
it's
right.
an IR.
Oh, that's right. He's done.
Yeah.
Oh God, I wanted to chirp him so
No.
bad. And you can't chirp a guy.
You could
who's
chirp
on
Michael
IR.
Onwenu if you want.
Yeah, Onwenu, another
Uche.
Michigan guy, right?
Uche.
Uche, he's playing.
That's right. It's just chock
It's a
full of-
potpourri of Wolverines. For
There's
you to
only one
choose.
Spartan on the team,
Oh.
as far as I know. It's just Hoyer,
Just
isn't
the
it?
Hoy dog.
It's
Here
just
come the
Hoy
Lions,
man.
too. Lions in Houston said, no more.
Dorman back.
Why even bother?
41-7. Why even celebrate? Come on. Let's go.
You know, they're saving it up for that Thanksgiving game. It's like, you know what, guys? Leave something in the tank. We got to play a big home game in 3 weeks.
Going for
Let's
2.
And
That's as far
And
away from
Tom
actually.
Chief.
That's as far away from converting a 2-point conversion as I think I've ever seen. Like Illinois and Penn State are laughing at you from their performance last week when neither one of them could do it with 9 tries.
All right, we'll step aside here for a moment. We will come back and wrap up this Patriots pregame show fueled by Dunkin. Stay with us. We won't be a moment.
That looks awful. Football's back and it's time to go big. Pepsi pulled pork sandwiches are game day greatness. Now we're ready for game day. Check out some more awesome recipes on madeforpatriotswatching.com.
Join the conversation by calling the Ace Ticket hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at webradio@patriots.com.
Because we didn't get a lot of people, weighing in about what's going to happen in this game.
Well, let me tell you something, Pumpkin.
Live from our studios inside Gillette Stadium, here's Hardy.
So what else do we want to see today, boys? We haven't really had this, in the forefront because, well, the Patriots, quite frankly, showed us quite a bit last week, and they've kind of delivered on our wish lists here for a couple of weeks now in terms of showing us things in the game, either game planning wise or personnel wise or just certain performances. Anything else you would like to see in this game today?
Oh, well, just to nerd it up a tiny bit, because I think, Brandon Staley got a lot of love this week about his defense, which kind of led me down a little bit of a rabbit hole of, trying to figure out why and what exactly he's doing to talk about him being on, the cutting edge defense. And, you start to get into a lot of match coverage where, it starts out as zone, and then once guys kind of come in, people take them in man coverage. And so I think that's an interesting part of it, and it's a lot of showing too high safety, which is why that they've had some teams run against them successfully. But a lot of times that one of those safeties is coming down hard and disguising what he's doing. So I think it's gonna be interesting to see the challenges that it presents for Mac Jones. And watching, I mentioned Greg Cosell earlier. He broke Mac down a little bit on NFL matchup, which I always enjoy, and I think talking about those post-snap adjustments, understanding what they're doing and what they're going to throw at him. I think this is a modern defense that has some new twists that he hasn't necessarily seen. A lot of respect for, what Brian Flores does in terms of disguise and walking guys around, as the caller had mentioned earlier. But I think this is a different challenge and something kind of unique. So I'm excited just to see how Mac does against that stuff. Is he making good decisions late in the down? Is he able to see what they're doing and take advantage of it? And that for me will be something interesting to watch, especially after the game when you go back and really look at it.
All right, that's good. Something to look for. Paul, is there anything you want to see from the Pats today?
I'd like to see how they go up against Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
It just and how they are able to handle a passing game. So far, it hasn't been great. It hasn't been great with the secondary, and this is a good test. I don't think it's of the level of Dallas, a few weeks ago, but I like to see if they can be closer to what they did to Herbert last time than, sort of the spring in the leaks that we've seen this year so far.
I'm sorry. Now I'm distracted by watching Tua here today, who had this.
Yeah, they went for two. The Dolphins scored and went for two. That the new age analytics, down 14, you go for two. Under the premise that you're going to get one out of two and end up tied. If you get the first one, now you can kick for the win. They got the first one, so it's 17-11 with about 10 minutes to go.
you had this week where, people are talking about, it's finally going to happen, and Deshaun's going to get moved out of Houston, and he's going to Miami, and now
Schefter's saying no.
Now, but he's had to deal with this all week. He's had to ask, he's been asked about, his job there and whether or not he feels wanted there as the quarterback, and he kind of laughed it off, and he had a really strange response, something along the lines of, well, I don't feel unwanted. That was the most he could muster in terms of.
Well, that's a tough one. That's a tough one for him.
A tough spot, but he's.
I got to tell you, he hasn't played that bad either.
He hasn't, and he's not. Look, we haven't watched the whole game, and there were some moments here in this game where the Dolphins just look putrid. But in terms of him as a guy out there, he's not a total bum by any stretch.
No, and I don't listen. I'm not in love with him. Here's the thing about Tua, and we don't have to turn this into Dolphins pregame.
No, it's just for a moment.
I thought Tua at Alabama was one of these dual threat guys. I thought he was an athlete that could make plays. Sort of like we just saw with Justin Fields with the Chicago game. He's that injury has taken that element of the game away from him. He's not a runner anymore. He doesn't scramble around and make plays. I don't think he has the greatest arm. So I think that when you're just making him a pocket passer, I don't know if he's gifted enough to do that. Yeah. I thought he was gifted enough as a dual threat. He threw well enough as a dual threat. I don't know if he's good enough, but let's put it this way. Mac Jones fans, don't do a lot of comparisons with the numbers because I don't think you'll like what you see. Because I know what you think of Tua. Yeah. I know what people around here think of Tua. They all think he sucks. I kind of agree. I don't think you're going to win with Tua. But the numbers, and he hasn't. He's only played twice as many. It's not like he played all year last year. He's missed time in both years. So I think it's only like 14 or 15 starts as opposed to 7 or 8 for Mac Jones.
And what would Tua be doing with Josh McDaniels instead of, I think an established offense, he might, some of his warts.
I think Tua's numbers are strikingly similar to Mac Jones's, is what I'm
and I think
trying
he's
to say.
A couple different coordinators. One more point I just want to make, though, before this game, because, looking at these results, right now, Tennessee, Indy tied up. It's just so much parity in the AFC right now. The Jets, they're probably going to lose to Cincy, but they hung in there for a little bit. Just such an opportunity for the Patriots today to stay in that conversation. The AFC is up in the air right now in terms of the power structure, who's what. If you just start winning some games, I don't know where you end up, but I can tell you what. The Steelers up on the Browns.
Yeah, Jarvis Landry just had a huge fumble in that game. Cleveland was going in to take the lead, and he fumbled, and I think Pittsburgh is going to have to punt, so Cleveland will get another chance. But to your point, Mike, absolutely.
Stay in
the
it.
Playoff
just
race,
stay in
that's
it.
why I think today is so big.
Yep.
3-5, you're kind of not in it. You got to kind of run that. You got to go 7-2.
Right.
If you lose today, and I think that's hard to do when you're sort of a middling team.
It's not just for the conference. If you just want to keep it within the division, we're talking about the Bills and Dolphins.
The Dolphins might. Who knows?
The Bills have their hands full with Miami.
Absolutely,
right. Now. Okay.
Absolutely. And if you look at some of the different things, people are looking at Kansas City right now. 3-4.
They might still be the best team in the conference.
Right.
Yeah.
So people aren't sure that Kansas City is capable of putting this poor play behind them. So what makes you think the Patriots are talented enough to do that? Because I think people are rightly wondering if Kansas City has what it takes to be Kansas City again and win 8 out of the next 9. Maybe they'll do that. We know how good they are, but I haven't seen anything to indicate that so far. So that's why today is huge. You can't overstate it.
And it's whether you call it parity or inconsistency. The Ravens look like they're ready to set the world on fire all over again, and they get blown out last week.
Well, the Titans. The Titans will blow out.
I don't know.
Opportunity is there. Just keep winning games. Next week, you're probably going to be facing PJ somebody at quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. But it's just. Don't get out of it too soon. Right now, it's you'll be in the thick of it. You win today, people are going to be hyped up, especially with how these results are kind of playing out.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention at least just briefly here about the passing of Jerry Remy. A lot of New England fans, listening and watching the show right now, and Jerry Remy passed away after having multiple health issues over the years. But Remy was, such a part of so many people's, viewing experiences over the years. And he was very kind to me early on, back on my BCN days. He used to come on my show and talk baseball and had some fun with them. So very sad, and condolences to the Remy family. I'm sure they're hurting today. Gentlemen, that kind of puts a little bow on our pregame show.
Looking forward
here.
to this one.
Yeah.
Looking forward to this one. Hopefully, we're just as excited for the post-game show.
Yeah. All right. So we hope that you will join us then for everyone involved in the Patriots pregame show, fueled by Dunkin. We thank you for your hard work as always as the Patriots get ready for their game against the Chargers in Los Angeles. Be coming your way here shortly, and then we will be on immediately after the show. Get ready to call in then, 855-PATS-500. Have your emails. You can send those along whenever you want to webradio@patriots.com. We'll get to all of them in the postgame. We'll see you and talk to you then.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.